Yo, are we live? Let us know in the chat if we're live. Andrew, look awake, would you? For crying out loud.
Are you gonna say this isn't Jabby's channel?
This is not Jabby.
I'm not
Don't
supposed to fall
fall
asleep.
asleep. You can sleep all you want when you're on the Cinepals channel, but not here. We used up all of our notification bells, so please leave a like on this video because we're not. Our notification bell did not go out to most of our subscribers today for this stream. So be interesting to see how many people appear. But who do we got in the chat so far? Who do we got? Predictions for people who played the game. Alma, yeah, that's true. That's a great point. But I feel like they might change some stuff. There's still something to talk about. Jordan Reese in the chat. DeSan. Mel in episode 8. Did you notice Mel in episode 8?
No, I did not.
Someone did say that Abby was there. There was a little girl with like a pig. I don't know what they were talking about.
I did see someone post that. I didn't rewatch the part where they said it was like at around the 30-minute mark, but yeah, I'd have to re-see.
Yeah, I have no idea what people are talking about.
I feel like there would have been images of that online, but yeah, I haven't seen that so far.
John. Thank you, buddy. All right, bye.
And in regards to that comment about people who played the game making predictions, yeah, I mean, that's a fair point, but also, too, if anything episode 3 taught us and other certain things, they will change certain things up. So, I mean, they're not going to be completely perfectly faithful in every which way. So
yeah, that's fair. Okay, so they said Desan saying Mel was sitting next to the girl that got slapped by the preacher. Oh, you mean like the actress or the actual character?
If it was the actual character, I'd never heard them say Mel.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Okay.
Okay. It's getting confusing.
Yeah.
But yeah, guys, go ahead and leave a like on this video if you can.
because
We did not get our notification bells are not working right now.
I was gonna say if it was Mel, it wouldn't make sense because I mean we're allowed to talk spoilers here, right?
This whole thing is going to be very spoiler.
Sorry, guys. I've been like really careful what I'm supposed to say the last 9 weeks, so like now I'm on like just I gotta ask Greg type of thing now. But yeah, if that was Mel in episode 8, which it sounds like these people are saying it's not, it would make no sense in terms of what happens in the second game because we know that Mel is a Firefly and that she was there with them in Utah. So
yeah, that's true.
It would make absolutely no sense.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, Cody Maverick. Andrew, you see your frame here? Yeah, you're too much in the box. Oh wait, I need to reload this chat. Guys, I need to reload the chat here. Hold on, let me fix this for everyone. Sorry, Andrew. Sorry, Andrew. I'm sorry.
It's okay. You're forgiven.
I'm sorry. I was like, oh yeah, this looks like no one's here at all. Hold on a second. Let me get this going. I'm gonna fix this, everyone. I'm gonna fix this. Hold on. I'm gonna fix this for everyone so they can see their chat on screen. I wonder what would happen if I close this out, because I don't think it would end the stream. No, it would. Hold on a second, guys. I'm gonna fix this. Hold on. I can't do it. It's not letting me do the thing we're fixing. Anyway, who do you think should play Abby? Do you have a pick for Abby? Because we're getting that question quite a bit here in the chat.
Yeah, they should just get Laura Bailey and then do the CGI thing with Mark Hamill, right?
Yeah, that would be great.
I mean, that was the popular choice originally. I mean, I don't have an actress in mind. I mean, I think they nailed their casting choices when it comes to Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey, and I didn't have those actors in mind when it came to those roles. So in terms of Ellie and Joel, so honestly, at this point, I trust Neil Druckmann completely and Craig Mazin. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
Okay, because I feel like I always pronounce his name wrong. I trust them completely. The casting that they did in season 1, pretty much across the board, was spot on. So. I don't particularly have an actor in mind that I'd want. All I would say is whoever that actor ends up being, I would probably get off social media for the next couple of years because I mean, again, I personally thoroughly enjoyed part 2. I understand how divisive it is, and I get why. I totally understand, respect everyone's opinion towards it, even if I don't agree with some of the opinions, but I would just say a lot of the hate obviously came towards Abby. So whoever that actress is, whether it's accomplished or not, just immediately, like, you're going to get into that, you get into that fandom of there's going to be people out there who are not going to be happy with that character just from the game. So I would just caution whoever that actress is about social media and just not taking things too personally.
I feel like you know who I saw as a pick?
Mm.
There it is. I figured it out.
Oh yeah, didn't
I
we?
figured it out, guys. Look, I did it. I'm a genius. um,
Really
no,
quick, not to
I,
interrupt you. There was an actress that we saw.
you said not to interrupt me, and
Yeah,
you full
I
on,
am. I'm
you
sorry.
completely
I
interrupted
just
me,
wanted to
Andrew.
remind you. There was an actress we saw. I showed you like a month ago. She looked just like Abby, and you're like, "Oh yeah, I know this
Yes.
actress." Is that who you were about to say?
No, no, no.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, okay, all right, guys. Sorry, I was trying to get this chat on screen that way you could actually see what everyone's saying too. Yeah, no. What I was hearing, a fan pick that I've been seeing going around a lot is actually Florence Pugh, and I was like, you know what? Yeah, there it is. Cloud19 just said it right there. I was thinking, yeah, Florence Pugh actually wouldn't be a bad pick.
I don't think she'd be a bad pick. I mean, Abby is what in the games. I mean, I feel like her and Ellie are roughly around the same age, right?
Who gives a shit? She can play Abby.
Yeah. I mean,
She has a young face.
yeah, that's
She
true.
looks really young, Andrew.
I guess no, that's true. But yeah, I am curious too about that actress. I'm not saying they are gonna pick her, but that act I don't remember her name, the one I showed you like a month or so ago. But we both looked at her and like, holy crap, this looks just like Abby.
Yeah, Shannon Barry, I think was her name.
Oh, okay, yeah. She like I could totally see her. Just I mean, from a visual, I don't know her acting range, but
What was your guys' favorite episodes?
good question.
Yeah, Jabby heard I was going to be doing a spoiler talk, and then he was like, I'm going to go ahead and do that too. And that's how this goes. Freezer Bunny says, please no, she's a bit too traditionally pretty. See, I feel like you can, I don't think Abby's, I actually don't feel like Abby is ugly, like a lot of people feel. But I think the thing with Abby is she needs to have the physicality as well. So yeah, this whole thing of this talk today is meant for people who just played. I realize if we just did a live spoiler talk, people would be spoiling the game. So we might as well just talk about the actual. We might as well talk about like full on spoilers today for people who play the game. So we don't expect like a bunch of people to be in this live stream today, only because of the fact that most people, a lot of people who actually watch our videos, like a lot of people who comment actually haven't seen it either.
yeah.
This shirt right here is a Real Rejects exclusive one. Thank you for asking. Oh, and then we got a super chat here from Dakota. Let me go find that super chat here.
Thank you, Dakota.
Dakota Jones, thank you. Thank you so much for contributing. He said, I'd be a liar if I said I didn't want more clickers. I would have, but they kept the baby girl moment, and for that I am happy. Need more action in 2.
I agree.
Do you guys know how the baby girl moment came to be in the video game itself? How that translated actually into this? Do you know the history with it?
I just remember he called her Sarah Baby Girl, but I don't know the history of how it became a line. No.
Okay,
Educate me.
So what happened was, Andrew, you're way too close to the screen. Let's move you over. You have to have some mindfulness here. Mindfulness, please.
I'm a noob when it comes to the live stream.
So what happened was Troy Baker. It was a line that I believe it was with. He was doing a scene with Sarah when they were making The Last of Us 1, and Troy Baker had he was like improvising some lines, and he said "baby girl" to Sarah, and Neil Druckmann was hearing that, and he's like, "What did you say?" And Troy Baker wasn't sure what it was, and then he said, "Was it baby girl?" Because that's such like a common thing apparently that Texans say. And right then and there, Neil Druckmann said, "That's it. That's what you're going to call Ellie later on." And that became like an iconic moment for it. And it was actually Troy Baker who improvised saying that, and then Neil Druckmann took note of that and wanted to infuse that in there.
Dude, honestly, I love stories like. Thank you, Troy Baker, by the way. That's
Yeah.
awesome. That's awesome. But I love stories like that when you hear about actors improvising such iconic lines. Han Solo in Empire Strikes Back. I know. After
Yeah.
Leia says "I love you," and also, of course, the great Roy Scheider, God rest his soul, in Jaws when he says "You're going to need a bigger boat." Like I love when these actors just improvise such iconic lines like that, and then they're like just seared into our heads when we think about these scenes. But that is such a cool story.
Yeah.
I never knew that.
Cartman1414 in the chat is saying, whoever it is, I pray for them. The backlash Laura Bailey got was
Oh, it
ridiculous.
was terrible.
See, that's the thing that I feel like is a little bit worrisome for whoever is going to be playing Abby, is that it's going to be one of those cases. It's unavoidable. As much as there's going to be people like I see a lot of people in the chat who are very sound and logical about it. We're going to be very logical about it. There's going to be so many people who are just going to become in an uproar, especially now that Pedro Pascal is this like national, like not even that, like a worldwide sensation right now. once they cast Abby, once Abby is cast, like I feel sorry for pretty much. It's one of those things where even if you haven't played the game,
Mhm.
odds of you getting it spoiled for you are going to be
Oh
insanely
yeah.
likely. Like people are going to go, "Why is everyone pissed off about this Abby casting?" People are just going to find out, and so many people are going to have it ruined for them. And then of course it's going to be the thing where the actress for some reason gets the blame. And it's not like the cool kind of burden you got to bear when you're like, your cast is Batman, you'll get some crap, but don't worry, you can win them over. The character of Abby is already a tough one to crack for
Yeah.
people. And so I already feel sorry for
That
whoever it
I
is
I
that's going to be playing them.
and I'm sure again, like the warnings that we've given out, I'm sure that they're going to talk to whomever that is just about social media and all that. Like, hey, it might be a good idea to. I mean, do obviously whatever makes you comfortable, but it might be a good idea to possibly get off just because out of your control. People would just take it very personally when it comes to that specific character, and we don't want you getting the brunt of the hate before you even get in here to film anything, and
Yeah.
like have that affect your performance. Because I mean, for me personally, again, I understand, the divisiveness of Last of Us Part Two, and also with Abby. I get it. We grown so attached to Joel and Ellie, and we don't want anything happening to these characters. And I know a lot of people have also said it's not just the fact that it happened to Joel; it's the way it happened. But I've also tried to say, hey, like The Last of Us to me is always about moral perspective, and if you put yourself in Abby's shoes, I can imagine you would feel the same way, the same hatred she felt towards Joel, and you'd want to get a Joel in one as well. So, I mean, again, I just caution that actress. I'm sure she's going to do a fantastic job. Again, if season one has shown us anything, they Neil Druckmann, Craig Mazin, they know how to freaking nail casting. So I'm sure whoever they pick is going to do an amazing job. And like I said, just be careful on social media.
I think that too. There's a sense of fate as well when it comes to The Last of Us. Like something of like Joel, who's he's looking for Tommy, but then he ends up finding him in a spot where he wouldn't expect to find him. Like it feels like he ran into him as opposed to I was searching for this exact spot and then I found him. And it's just kind of the same thing that happens with Abby in the second game when Abby does encounter both Joel and Tommy. It's like there is a sense of fate. So I don't know. Something about the golf club thing. The first time I played it, it really bothered me, but the second time around, it doesn't really bother as much.
Well, you made a good point. You said, I mean, again, this isn't for everyone, but I know you. I remember when you said this. I still enjoyed it a lot the first time I played it. Especially the gameplay was just so much fun. It was so much more fluid. And I know you can't always compare games when they're 7 years apart because obviously there's going to be technical feats that are achieved years later. But when I played the game back to back with the first to second one, it just flowed so much more seamlessly, and I enjoyed it so much more. And you were
Yeah.
the one who suggested that to me because I I didn't play the first one immediately right before I played the second one the first time, and it definitely bothered me the first time I played it as well. But then immediately playing after the first one's like, okay, this flows a lot more, makes a lot more sense with just again
Hmm.
with how it's going with the after immediately following the first one. So yeah, that was a good suggestion on your part.
Hopefully that's. I mean, I feel like they kind of prime you for that too, because Craig Mazin and Neil Druckmann said that they thought about like the following season while crafting this
Oh
season,
yeah,
like the whole overarching story. That's why you get so many season two Easter eggs or not even Easter eggs so much
foreshadowings.
more so foreshadowing and world building to establish the grounds for season two. And then changing up some plots and themes in order to have it segue better and for the themes of season two. Jacob C said, if we are doing full spoilers, I hope we spend more time with Joel before he's killed off. I don't want it to be in the first episode or two.
I'm okay with that if they do that. I mean, I believe that they've announced or have hinted at the whole part two is not going to be in one season as was this one. I mean, you can't do part two in one season, not in 9 episodes at
Yeah.
least. If it's going to be in one season, it's got to be at least what 18 to 21 episodes. I mean, the length of part two. I know again that they cut a lot. I know the argument's probably going to be made. They cut a lot of stuff out, so you probably get a couple episodes out of that from all the stuff that they do cut out.
Yeah.
But I really feel like you got to make this two parts. Like it's too long to do one season.
Yeah, I don't feel like I really don't think that if they did it as one season, it would do the story like because the Last of Us game is relatively short.
Yeah, the first
Like
one.
especially for a for a video game experience, it's a pretty short game.
Mhm.
All things I mean, it's still, you have to dedicate some time to beat it,
Of
but it's
course.
all things considered. With The Last of Us Part Two, that's a real journey you got to go on, and that's a commitment to beating that game. I am curious though, structurally, how they would do, because for those, if you don't care about spoilers and you're here, cool. But just a quick refresher on how it goes is you first play as you primarily first play
Ellie.
as Ellie, and after Joel dies, she's on the hunt for Abby. And then when after several days, eventually she does come face to face with Abby, then it backtracks, and then you focus on Abby's perspective and storyline on those same days, and you get to understand her life, who she is, where she's coming. She has this whole other adventure that has nothing to do with trying to find Ellie. It deals with the Seraphites, who are more of like this cultural tribalistic type of people,
And Owen.
and Owen, who Andrew would be a great Owen casting, by the way. And so you have these people, of her being with the Fireflies, and then she comes in to encounter Ellie. And then after they have a conflict, and it goes back to Ellie, and she's like, you know what, I still want revenge.
Yeah.
So it's a weird structure too to begin with.
It is.
Whereas The Last of Us, the first game, is so linear. It's just a straight shot, to the Fireflies is basically the journey, what you see unfold in like, if anything, they took creative liberties with the structuring, with this first season of the show has more of a complicated structure than the video game does. So I have no clue at all how, because like there's one theory that sounds neat to me to divide it into a couple of seasons would be if you did the first half, like the whole Ellie side as one season, and then you continued it from Abby's side.
Hmm.
Or I think what they would have to do though to really get you on board this journey is you would eventually just have to cut back and forth between the two.
I think
That's the smoothest way you can do
I
it.
would personally think that is the better way, because again, you're gonna have the whole season. I mean, again, for us gamers who know what's up, like we're gonna have an understand what's going on. But in terms of the casual fan who doesn't know what's happening, I think that's the smoother and smarter thing to do, because you want people also being invested in Abby. You don't want the same divisiveness that you had in terms of the game. So if you're trying to get people on board, just focusing on Abby that first season and then stopping it right there and like, all right, there's this character that just killed this character that we've
Right.
grown in love with. Sit on that for a year, and then we're going to come back to her. I just don't think that's, I don't know. I don't think that's going to be the right move, and it's going to be a tougher sell at getting people invested in Abby sitting on a year of not seeing her perspective or her point of view, and then coming back to that a year later. I don't know. I just feel like that would be tougher. So I think you're 100% right. That would be the smoother transition to keep cutting back and forth, and it would be definitely a deviate from the game for sure, because obviously, like you said, it was a completely different story structure for the second game, which I thought was cool. You know what? I actually enjoyed it. I mean, you can make a case like it ruined a little bit of the pacing of the second game, but I actually thoroughly enjoyed this whole revenge trip, because I mean, that's what we all felt at first, because we want to get revenge for Joel. And then again, the whole moral dilemma and moral perspective of where Abby's coming from, and you understand, like, hey, Joel's not just taking out nobody. Like, these people have families. There's consequences and ramifications to Joel's actions, and that's what I appreciate
Yeah.
about the second game so much.
I thought they really hammered that home with fleshing that out in the world of the first game, too, of the first season of the show, though, too, because you spend so much more time humanizing other characters that you normally wouldn't humanize.
Yes.
And because they took the time to really do that, that sets the groundwork for what occurs when Joel ends up dying in the second, in this. I presume in the second season. And if anything, I feel like they're probably going to give us more flashbacks
yeah.
with Joel.
Definitely.
Because you don't really get that much time with Joel in the second game, even in the form of flashbacks. And I
Yeah.
think this time around you'll get way more flashbacks.
Yeah, I personally, again, this is my personal thing that I think. I don't think they're going to kill him in the first couple of episodes. I think it's going to be a little bit long, maybe 4 or 5, don't know. But there's definitely going to be a lot of flashbacks when it comes to. You're not just going to completely get rid of Pedro Pascal. You're going to want to. I mean, when you got a
Pedro
world,
Pascal, man.
you got one of the biggest stars ever, and he just owns the role of Joel. So I mean, if there's one thing that besides the casting that I mentioned that Neil Druckmann and Craig Mazin did beautifully in the first season, they expanded upon things that were not, touched upon in the game in such a beautiful, methodical, and interesting way.
Hmm.
And I think they're gonna like again do that with flying colors in the second game. And you can do that with a lot of the flashbacks because a lot of the flashbacks are some of my favorite moments in the game when he takes Ellie to the museum and what he does for her birthday, like that's one of my in both games, that's one of my favorite moments ever, like the joy he gets in her face, like in the I mean just getting them together, like I love moments like that. So I'm assuming that they're going to have definitely a lot of flashbacks and use Pedro Pascal as much as possible because the non-casual fan, you are going to get upset that they've grown so invested in Joel, whether they agreed with his decision, what he did with Ellie here at the end. A lot of people are invested in Joel. Again, we're talking about casual gamer fans that are watching the show. So they're going to be really upset. And what's the rewatchability here now in season 2 when this character is gone? But if they know, hey, there's a lot of flashbacks. Okay,
Yeah.
no, I can keep coming back to this because I know even though I'm upset at the notion that he is gone, understanding the ramifications of what he did and there are consequences. Now I know, hey, there's a lot of flashbacks. I get to still watch him and see the in between stuff that led up to this.
That's true. That's a good point. Deleted Exo saying, I really hope they don't cut out the Rat King in season 2.
I could see if they are doing what Greg was mentioning in terms of going back and forth between Ellie and Abby. If you remember, that does happen way later on Abby's journey because she's trying to get the medicine for Yara's arm before they do the surgery. So
Yeah.
I would imagine. I agree with you. I don't think they're cutting the Rat King out. I'd be really upset about if they cut that out, and of course I would get accused of being a complainer. But I don't see them cutting out the Rat King, but I do see that happening in season 3. I just think it's way too far along in the storyline for that to be season 2. What about you?
I think your face is being cut off by the chat right now.
Oh.
And you're such a leaner. I think
am.
what happened, I think for season 2, what they need to first rebuild up because Neil Druckmann and Craig
Infected.
Mason did say that when it comes to the infected, that if they thought that it didn't drive the narrative forward, the story forward, they were going to just excise it. That it wasn't really a question.
Yeah.
But I know they listen to. I know they pay attention to what fans are saying. Not that like Neil Druckmann is one to become subservient to what fans want. Not like he's gonna undo what happens to Joel in the second game. I think though that is a. I think the complaint though that based kind of reading in between the lines, I could see how they might have seen some validity to what some people have said. Because it is kind of a common thing. Because I've even heard non-gamers say that they felt like there should have been more infected. I've heard quite a few people say that, just to really help that part of the world feel more lived in. And I think you need to see more of that. Like before we go to Rat King, we need to really see a bloater. I think you need to see like the bloaters really in action. Like you only got like if anything, you got a teaser trailer for what a bloater is capable of.
Yeah.
But none of that real high suspense. Like in the second game, there's this section where, because as a quick refresher, what is
Shamblers.
She's part of the WLF.
WLF.
She's part of the
Washington Liberation Front.
Abby's part of the Washington Liberation Front, and they're
Isaac's in charge.
They're a territorial war with the Seraphites. Andrew, I will get there. I will get there.
Just helping you out.
Mr. Interrupt. Just give me a second. Give me just like two extra seconds, and I'll get there.
As an
All right.
anticipatory help out.
Is this what you do at the Jabby Koei channel?
Always.
Is this
I
what you
always
do?
interrupt.
Does he yell at you in private?
Actually, never. He's like interrupt as much as
It's
as
probably
possible.
because he's not smart enough to get to the point himself, and he's relying on you. Whereas I know my brain will eventually get there.
Sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
You don't have to be sorry. Just be better. You know what I mean?
Okay.
You know what I'm saying, Andrew?
I'll be better, Greg.
You know what I'm saying, buddy? So, yeah, it's just, what were we even talking about?
You were talking about Seraphites.
That's where you come in. Thanks, man. So the Seraphites, and because they're at war with the Seraphites, and it is a thing where like they learn all these ideologies that Abby has developed over time by being part of WLF, and like, you know what, I have a misconception of what a lot of these people are actually like. But one of my favorite sequences, in the most intense sequence, one of the most intense sequences, a lot of people go to the Rat King for what is so scary, and it is a scary sequence in the Last of Us 2 game. But one of the scariest moments to me is when she's escaping with Lev and Yara, and then she gets trapped in that house, and she can't get out. She's had to battle like all different varieties of infected Abby. Do you remember that sequence? And she thinks that like Lev and Yara abandoned her.
Yes, yes, yes.
That scene right there, I'm like, that would be such a great live action sequence.
Oh, yeah.
And that is one where I'm like, the way you felt in episode 8 about them skipping that scene, I'm like, I could see how you can get away with not including that scene. Like, you don't necessarily need that sequence,
Yeah.
but it would really bother me. Just thinking ahead, I mean, maybe in the moment it won't bother me so much, but right now I'm like, I really hope they bring that sequence to life because that is wildly intense. That's one of the aspects of the fear building of the world of like that is insanely scary when you're playing as Abby in that moment.
And not only that, but again, it's storytelling action. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
character development action in terms of like Lev doesn't want to like save or help Abby. Like she's a Seraph, even though she's an apostate, she is a Seraphite at the end of the day. She believes in what she believes. And this is a WLF, member, and she doesn't want to save her. So it goes so far along in building their relationship, building the trust between them. Yeah, you can't skip over that, but again, it's not to defend myself, but that's the reason why I was, as you just mentioned, a little bit upset at the episode 8. I mean, there's been so many action sequences cut out that I didn't say anything. I said, hey, visually, would have been cool if they included them. Would it added a long way to go in terms of just the world building and understanding like, oh my God, like this world is just really full of infected and like there's no safe haven anywhere. But in terms of like when it comes to story building or storytelling action or character development action, those are the bits I really want included. And I agree with you. I wasn't even thinking about that moment. But
Honestly,
that's
like
important.
the Rat King, if anything, that's not even a necessary.
It's
if you think about it, it's really not a necessary thing for the story.
It's not, but visually, damn, I want to see that.
But yeah,
it's
no,
so scary.
Like there's a tad bit of fan service that I think you gotta there's
course.
a tiny bit you gotta uphold. You know.
Yeah, look, I'll look at it this way. If season 1 is Alien, then season 2's got to be Aliens. You
Yeah,
know
that's
what
a
I
great
mean?
way to put it.
The slow burn type of thing where you're barely seeing the monster, and then season 2, it's James Cameron. Let's go all out. Let's shoot some monsters all over the place.
All right, so Ellie became Comics Boy P says in the chat, and thank you to everyone who's contributed to super chats. By the way, support means a lot. Thank you. But obviously we're just going through everyone's comments today, so thank you. We will go to the super chat. Where to go? How are they going to get Ellie to be buff for season 2? Jack says they don't need to recast Ellie at all. They will make it work.
They're not recasting. They already said that. Belly is here to stay, and also too in real life, Bella Ramsey is 18 or 19 years old, so
She was 17 when they started filming.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to be a problem. In regards to how she's going to get buff, I mean, it's very simple. She's going to go to the gym. She's going to eat nutritiously, and I would imagine that's how she's going to get buff.
Well, I mean, like Ellie became my favorite character. Like I love Ellie in the first game. Don't get me wrong, I do.
Mm-hmm.
In the second game, that's when she definitively became my favorite video game character. So to me, it's going to be hard for me as someone who is so in love with. I love the second game, and I love Ellie so much in that. Like, there's that sequence. I love that sequence when she's like fucking up all those WLF people, before what's his name? Give me the name, Andrew, the Asian guy.
Jesse.
There you go.
I wasn't saying anything.
See how I invited?
That's why I didn't say anything. I was being better.
You did better, and I appreciate that.
I have a character arc even on a live stream. I'm being fleshed out.
When Jesse shows up, that whole sequence is one of the coolest.
I love that sequence.
That is such a cathartic, like, unleashing of, like, even though these are not the direct people who killed Joel. You really get that sensation of like, yeah, you guys can go fuck yourself, like die, and yeah. I really love that moment. And Ellie in that game, like she's brutal, and she's unbelievably tortured, and more mature, and yeah, she does feel, because she feels like so much younger in the first game, because she is.
Yeah.
That I am gonna feel like it's gonna be hard for me to completely wipe. I mean, who knows? By the time it comes out, I feel like every 2 years I'm a different person, honestly. I feel like I'm a different person every 2 years. So by the time it comes out, I'll probably have a much easier time just wiping my brain away from the second game. But I'm gonna hold the Bella Ramsey to a bit of a higher standard for my personal subjective viewing experience, because that portrayal of Ellie in there is, and I saw shades of it in the final episode here, like she did evolve, because she did such a good job, Bella Ramsey, at embracing the child side of Ellie, that I found myself surprised by how amazing she was in episode 8 and 9. I'm
Yes.
like, oh shit,
Yeah.
she is pulling off the other layers of Ellie
Absolutely.
really well. Like, she was so believable as the child side of Ellie, who was, I don't want to say jaded, but just much more innocent.
Yeah.
That by the time she gets to episode 8 and 9, where she is becoming more dejected and that trauma's weighing on her and becoming more hollow, and she's talking in a lower register, all those things, I was really impressed with. Oh man, you really sold me to. You were so good on the childlike side that I wasn't 100% confident you could pull off this other side.
Yeah.
And then you started proving it to me. So yeah, I mean that there is a physicality to Ellie, in season 2 that she would have to pull off. But I feel like she can do it, because she's going to probably go through a lot of training, because by that point Ellie's a much more experienced hunter gatherer and whatnot.
Yeah, no, you make a great point. She really did a great job when it comes to the child side of Ellie,
Mickey
but
Rourke for Abby. I love that.
Mickey Rourke for Abby. Jeez. Oh boy, yeah, I'd love to. I'd love to see that. Uh, but no, I mean, you make a great point that she really did a good job in terms of the childlike ability that she showed us, and she really, like, seriously, the last 2 episodes, especially episode 9, I was extremely riveted by her performance. I mean, just showing how much, like, the trauma of what this cannibal that, like, wanted to make her pet, and just as a complete pedophile, what it did to her. Because again, as I mentioned, she lives in a world of infected and people trying to kill her every single day. So I mean, that should, for a 14-year-old kid, that should be traumatic enough as it is.
Yeah.
But what David did to her, like, a part of her soul, like, was completely, like, just taken from her in a sense. And obviously Joel is like the last remnant keeping that soul intact. And when he's ripped away from her, like, all right, all bets are off, and she just goes on a violent revenge, angry path. I mean, it's beautiful to watch in the game. Like, it's amazing. She's freaking incredible. Such a three-dimensional character in that game. But basically, the point I'm making is Bella Ramsey. What I saw her do in especially episode 9, like when I saw the weight of that trauma that David did to her, like, I'm like, oh, like, I'm ready. Like, I can see that rage is just like boiling beneath the surface, and I know Bella Ramsey's just gonna, like, kill it in season 2, literally and figuratively speaking. Like, I was just so floored by her performance, and especially episode 9. Like, just seeing that, I was like, wow, she
Yeah.
really, no, she really did it. Like, I was really buying her as Ellie again, like you said, from the child side, but seeing her, like, having that whole weight of the world and her whole soul gone, like, that's not easy to do. Body language and facial wise, I mean, she killed it that last episode.
No, she was excellent. We're gonna go back to the chat, and I just want to make sure, because I tend to have a habit of taking way too long to get to the people who did contribute in the super chats, but we don't have like a shit ton of super chats right now. So I want to make sure we can stay on track. Then we're gonna go pull back to the chat here. Just 1 second. How do I? Come on, Greg. I got to bed at like 6 in the morning, guys. I'm slowly remembering how to live stream.
I kept texting and calling Greg all night about how good that episode was. It was my fault that he didn't go to bed.
Yeah, dude. What's your problem, Andrew?
I'm sorry. I just can't help it when I'm excited.
It's okay, buddy. Just pulling it up here. No, it's not working. You know what? No, I'm just gonna scroll in the actual chat. I got this. I got this, everyone. Don't worry. Then I'm gonna scroll back to where we left off at. Oh my God, there's shortcuts. I know a shortcut to do this. Watch, Andrew. Have you heard of this option called Command F?
I have not heard of Command F.
Well,
What does Command F do, Greg?
Basically allows you to just to control fine. It's amazing.
That's
I was like, oh
awesome.
wait a minute. I remember. Hey, our first super chat from Arenta59. Well, ND. It's Neil Druckmann. Neil Druckmann, not
Notre Dame or
not Notre Dame high school. Will Neil Druckmann have enough time to finish part 3 before season 4 is set?
Oof.
Part 2 has to be 2 seasons. You can't tell a 50-hour story in 9 episodes. I mean, he hasn't committed to doing a part 3 yet. I
They
mean,
haven't-
he's like teased. He's had
Yeah.
ideas on the horizon.
Yeah, and I mean, if they're gonna do part 3, that's gonna take at least what 4 or 5 years probably to do. In terms of you got to write out the story, you got to write out the dialogue, you got to get all the stuff ready for the game. I mean, it's a like a video game is a. I mean, everything is a process. TV shows are and films, but a video game is like a dedicated long, especially nowadays with next gen, all these new systems we have. I mean, it would take in my estimation, even if the story was ready right now.
Yeah.
I feel like it'd be at least what 4 or 5 years till it's probably out.
Yeah.
So, and I would imagine season 2 is gonna happen mid to late next year. Would probably be my guess. I'm gonna guess that they're gonna start filming late this year. I mean, when you got a monster hit like this, I can't imagine that they're gonna take way too long to start filming. So, my guesstimate is they start filming later this year, mid to late next year. Season 2 comes out. And then again, you're going to have the part 3, which is going to be, I'm guessing, the completion of part 2 of the video game. So season 3, and that's what 2025 will be in at that point. You're not going to have part 3 out there's no way part 3 will be out in 2 years. Like I mean, do you see part 3 being out in 2 to 3 years? I don't.
I know. I mean, I feel like I think there is more room to tell because with the way part 2 ends, Ellie doesn't get her revenge. She lets Abby and Lev go. But she's lost everything in the process in her pursuit of revenge. You know, she can't even play the guitar anymore. She's lost Joel. She's lost Dina. Thank you. I was blanking. No, thank you. So she lost Dina, and in that process, she's left with this really hollow thing. However, she still is the one and only person that we know of who is immune to the virus, and there's still. So I'm like, you can do that thing where you bring it back. That those great trilogies that bring it back to the first one. Yeah. You can't bring it back to the first one of you still are the one who has the capability to help produce a vaccine in this world, and you might be able to let that hope actually pay off. I'm all for that bleakness, that reality, that harshness. I love it. It's so sad and it weighs on you and it's mean and I love it. However, you can end this in a way where you don't even have to end it with like, we got a vaccine and the world is cured. But you can do something where, like maybe it's the journey where she does they do find a doctor where they can at least start the process and it can just end there. You know what I mean? Like the door's left open of what could possibly happen.
Right.
So there you go. But yeah, I would love for them to do a part 3.
Oh, for sure. Definitely, especially with how part 2 ended. I definitely want to continue.
It should be one where it's like now Abby and Ellie team up.
Well, and Lev too, right?
And Lev, and then you get Dina back. It's just a crossover. We call it the 355.
And then maybe if there's a maybe if it's a time jump, we'll have JJ jump in there too.
And then what they can do is they can access the multiverse, and they could get Joel back and Joel from another dimension.
Yeah, it's the Josh Brolin version of Joel.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. All right, so Name Summit says in part 2.
Oh, thank you, Name Summit. By the way,
thank you so much. In part 2, after Joel brutally killed by group WLF, Tommy role become more important in game. Hope they also show how Ellie's perspective changed in end. Tommy's role becomes more important. Yeah, it's true. You know what? In the game, Tommy has this whole adventure. That's like they cast Gabriel fucking Luna, who's an amazing actor.
He's great.
So yeah. So when it comes to Tommy in the second game, he has this whole adventure where while Ellie's hunting, Tommy goes off to go hunt as well, to go track down Abby, and then eventually, you cross paths and whatnot, and you get some of Tommy. I remember being in the game, and when Abby shoots him in the leg or something, I was like, "You bitch, you better not freaking like." Yeah. They kill off both Joel and Tommy. That would have been so messed up. And then he's injured so much to the point where he can't even go get revenge by the end. It's really heartbreaking. You really want him to get some kind of catharsis.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, like, I think they could have like a dedicated episode if they do play around with time a lot here, where you do see you can have an episode where you do get like all from Tommy's
I
perspective.
would love to see
That
that.
would be really cool. Gabriel Luna to actually get that, or you do cut, or you can have instead of doing 2 storylines, you could have 3 storylines. That'd be a good way to mix it up for season 2. I think if you have one where you're following Ellie, one where you're following Abby, which is the main ones, and then one where
Yeah.
you also check in with Tommy
Yeah.
because they are, and then you could have ones where you actually do focus on Lev and Yara. Like when you catch up with Lev and Yara, Lev is being exiled from the Seraphites in that game. So they could probably do that thing where in season 1 where you actually see the lead up to Lev being exiled.
That would be great. Yeah, again, if
Really get to know, they'll probably really humanize the Seraphites beforehand, and then you see how, because you get the whole thing with Yara and Yara's mom. There's this whole history that they talk about that you don't actually get a witness.
yeah.
And so, because a lot of people are thinking about Abby, right, when it comes to this one. But I'm
course.
like, Levin, the thing that made me really, when I realized, like, you know what, I really love this Abby character, like, I grew to love Abby, was the scene when, with Abby and Lev,
Mhm.
and Abby, and I forget the line that leads into Abby saying this, but Abby eventually turns to Lev when Abby's like fucking up some of the WLF and then goes, "You're my family.
You're my people.
You're my people." That's the line. "You're my people." I remember that
That was a
moment
great
was I was
line.
like, whew, that was very moving. Like when they do this show, they cannot skip that beat. That is such an important beat.
Yeah.
And like Lev and Yara, but especially Lev, is such an important character. And I'm
Yes.
like, we're not even really talking so much about who's going to play that person, but
Well,
we can get so much more backstory with them.
yeah, I mean, first of all, Greg, you can admit the truth. You became invested in Abby when Owen and her were in the boat and had their their sex
You know,
scene.
Andrew, I don't appreciate sarcasm on this channel.
I'm not. I'm being honest. I remember you called me and said, "I got Andrew. Have you gotten to this part yet? It's like the best scene. It's like a full on sex scene in this game. So like nudity, it's amazing." Anyways, I agree with everything you just said. Uh, and also too, what I loved about that is one of my favorite lines. What you meant, the "You're my people." I love that line so much. They definitely better keep that line in.
Yeah, definitely.
But I think what I love too about the whole Lev and Abby storyline is, in essence, she becomes Joel and Lev becomes Ellie, not from a perspective of, she's got the cure or anything to make mankind back to what it used to be, but more of just that surrogate, son and type of mother type of bondship that obviously Joel father and daughter type of bondship. Like, I'm doing everything at all costs to protect this person.
Yeah.
So I love that perspective. So I mean, it gives Abby again. That's why I love Last of Us so much. There's so much moral perspective and so much these characters learn from their mistakes. And when it comes to revenge and hatred, and like that's what I love that Abby goes throughout the game, and Ellie goes throughout the game. So I mean, yeah. But in terms of cutting back to Tommy, I'd really be shocked if they don't have at least one episode where we see stuff from Tommy's perspective. Just again, because again, in season 1 we saw how much stuff was expanded upon, stuff that wasn't even in. I mean, episode 3, like none of that's in the game
Yeah.
for the most part. None of that's in the game at all with Frank and Bill, and I loved all that. It was great. So, I mean, Neil Druckmann and Craig Mazin, I mean, the sky's the limit for them. So there are some stuff, and I mean, I definitely would love to see some flashbacks too, just like you said, leading up to, Lev becoming an apostate and what led to that. I mean, there's so much stuff you can, I mean, again, the game is so damn long that it's going to take 2 seasons, but there's so much other stuff that you can layer around it as well. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they're going to do.
John Lellis, thank you for the super chat.
Thank
I
you, John.
agree that I need more effective, and more importantly, shame on HBO for not featuring bricks and bottles. Shame.
Yeah.
It would have been way too heightened if they had if they had listen mode in here.
Yeah. One episode I said, where's listen mode? Like, come on.
I think they do got to bring some of the. I think it would be, and they don't have to. It would be cool though if they did bring, because there is such a release, especially in the second game when it comes to the action.
Mhm.
Like it is so because the action in the first game is mainly motivated by protecting and surviving,
Mhm.
where the action in the, especially on Ellie's storyline, is like go in there and murder.
Revenge.
It's like Joel's hospital scene, but throughout the whole game for her. Um, but that even that in Joel's scene is still about protection in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Here, this is something much more of a moral debate. And so I think for that stuff, like I love the idea of like using the bricks to distract. Like the bricks to distract is a great like video game trope, but it took me forever as a gamer to realize like, oh, to win a lot of this, I could throw the bottle at someone's head and
Yes.
then stab them.
Yes.
I didn't know that for the longest time.
I didn't either.
Yeah, I was like, what a great convenient way to
Yep.
like that would have saved me so much time and hassle if
Yeah.
I knew that I could do that with so much of these characters.
I
in
mean, you
here.
don't want them obviously overdoing it. It's going to be tropey at that point. But I agree. I definitely would like to see that a couple more times. In regards to your comment about we need more infected, 100%. And I believe that they have actually, Craig and Neil have said, we are going to have more action sequences next season. We're going to have more infected because we need to feel not only the sense of like that this world is inhabited by infected, which we got glimpses of for sure in season 1. We need to feel the consequences and the ramifications of the decision Joel made. Like, what exactly is this world that we're protecting in terms of trying to get a vaccine for? Because in season 1, it's like, yes, there was plenty of there were some scenes where major hordes of infected, but there was a lot of times where it just felt like it was much more overrun by humans rather than infected. So I'm looking forward to them getting back to that so we can again just feel the consequences and the ramifications of the decision that Joel made.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you, Andrew. Spend a little bit of catch up here. Do you think they will kill Joel in season 2? Yeah, first 10 minutes. First
Yeah.
10 minutes they'll do a bash his head in.
See, I was thinking 5 minutes, but you beat me 10 minutes.
I hope they change. Yeah, Jesse does die. Jesse's death does feel. There is a thing in the game where I know we got more super chats we got to get to. There is a thing in the game where some of the deaths they read like we're going for such real life that sometimes people just die in real. That sometimes they can feel like anticlimactic
Yeah.
when characters die. However, Jesse was a character we didn't even see much grief over,
Yeah.
and I feel like some grief would be nice and to have
I
a little
agree.
bit more of a moment to Jesse's death
Yeah.
if they do ultimately go the route of killing him off.
Yeah.
I think that would be very much that would help aid it. They should get Henry Golding to play him, or they should white cast him. Who are you thinking? Finn Wolfhard? I think Andrew finally learned who Finn Wolfhard is.
Yeah, I finally saw Ghostbusters Afterlife.
And you're like, that's who Finn Wolfhard is.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree with you in regards to Jesse's death from the second game. Like, no, it makes sense what happened, but yeah, I want to feel the moment because it
Yeah.
happened so quickly, and then Ellie immediately goes to run after Abby. Or rather, excuse me, you're the exact opposite. Abby goes immediately to run after Ellie because you're in control of Abby at this point.
Yeah.
And then after that, there's a time jump. We're now living on the farm with Dina and Ellie, and it's like I can't tell that they're really sad and upset about
Well,
what
they
happened.
should be.
With,
And
yeah,
that's- and that is Jesse's child.
Yeah, that's his son.
Yeah, that they end up raising. Yeah. And that's what I mean. I think also too for if they do Last of Us at the part 3 of the game, Ellie still have a child together. And that child could grow up and blah 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 blah
JJ.
blah blah blah.
Jesse Jr.
So E Skinny Raho, thank you so much for the super chat. What happened? Did I lose it? E Skinny. There we go. Not sure if this has already been said, but I'm disappointed that we didn't see a Joel and Sarah photo at all in the show.
Do you mind if I take this one first?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not that disappointed, but yeah, go for
Okay.
it.
I
Yeah.
feel at first, by the way, thank you so much for your contribution. Really appreciate it. At first, I completely agreed with what you said, and I would have still liked to have seen that, but the scene that we got instead was so damn heartfelt. It was
When he
so
talks about trying to take his own life.
yeah, and then like you're the reason that I'm still alive. Like it was a good It was such a good substitution that my mind, even though I was expecting and hoping to see the Sarah photo,
Yeah.
my mind was like, you know what, this scene is so damn touching, and that was the whole point of the Sarah photo scene was to just kind of say like I can't escape my past, and like having a daughter is the reason worth living, and like it was just expressed so beautifully, and the acting by Pedro Pascal and Belly, like oh my god, the dialogue was just so spot on that I was again at first I was like, oh, they're not getting the photo, and then as I heard the dialogue and I watched their the way they were acting, I was like, okay, this is so damn moving. Wow, I love
Yeah.
this so much. It didn't bother me anymore because of how good the scene was.
Well, I think in a shorter runtime too, and a live action medium, it might read as like instead of the new relationship that Joel has with Ellie, it might read as like I'm replacing you. You know, it could read
Yeah.
a little weird.
Yeah.
Not that it does to me in the game, it doesn't.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I'm like, I wonder if in live action it would read a little strange. like in the shorter runtime that you have.
I mean, I always also
Yeah.
viewed it as, not running away from your past, but I also just viewed it as such a
No,
such
it's
a
1,000% what it is.
yeah,
Yeah,
but I
yeah, yeah.
also viewed it as well in the game like such a heartfelt moment that Ellie cares so much about Joel to like, hey, I got something for you and I wanted to give you something that I know you would love, even though I know it's hard for you, but I viewed it both ways. But again, the dialogue we got and the acting from both of them just completely made up for and justified that not being in there in my view. But I'm so sorry that you were disappointed that that was not included. If it makes you feel better, I was disappointed in episode, even though I loved the episode, the action
Yeah.
sequence with David and Ellie. So I feel you.
You know what I love about this call from Jackson Lane?
Yeah.
I can't remember the actor's name. But I saw an interview and said he really would want to play Jesse in season 2. Right now, what's happening is there's a lot of people who see how great this show is, and there's so many actors who
Oh,
are
yeah.
actually visiting or revisiting The Last of Us 2,
Yeah.
and they're trying to like, can I play this role? Can I audition now? Like there's actually happening a lot
That's
where
awesome.
actors are prepping stuff in advance to try to
Yeah.
submit to Neil Druckmann and Craig Mazin. It's kind of funny that, but
Yeah.
that's really cool to see though, because clearly the show's so performance based that it's awesome to see. It's
Yeah.
inspiring a lot of actors to try to go out there. Oh,
I-
what's up?
I was just gonna say before we read the super chat, I saw someone say earlier, are we gonna get to see the Rat King? I also want to know, we gonna when we get to Seattle in season 2 or season 3? Well, it's gonna be season 2. Are we gonna get to see some Shamblers? I want to
Yeah.
see some. I mean, because it makes sense. Because I know the whole justification for having Shamblers in part 2 and not having them at all in part 1 is, they're the way they come about is they're affected by water, and obviously in Seattle there's a lot of rain, so it makes sense. Like instead of after the clicker stage before bloater or whatever, you turn into a Shambler. So I'm looking forward to seeing Shamblers as well. Do you think we're gonna get to see Shamblers though, in your opinion?
Yeah, we'll get them for like one scene and they'll never come back.
Sounds like the TV show.
Olivia Hamlin.
Thank you, Oliver.
Olivier?
Is it Olivier?
There's an I after
Oh,
the
I'm
V.
sorry. Thank you, Olivier.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. Thank you so much. I can't wait to see how many of the part 2 storylines unfold, but very excited to see how they pull off the sunken Seattle. What are some of the parts you're most excited to see? We didn't get a lot. I mean, we're talking about sunken Seattle, and Seattle's kind of known for its dreariness and of the rain. And I love, like in Last of Us 1, I loved so much of the sequences with the snow. And one of the things I heavily associate with Last of Us Season 2 is the atmosphere of the rain environment.
Yes.
And we barely got, I think it was maybe the first episode where you get a tiny bit of rain towards the end. Am I wrong about that of this show?
Yeah, a little bit when he went to hit
Punches the
the
guy,
body,
yeah.
the Fedra guard. Yeah, a little
But we
bit.
don't really get much rain and there's a little bit with like Bill and Frank. But other than that, that it creates such a mood and atmosphere and such an environmental condition they often have to work against, that it might sound like, I know I'm not listing off a specific key sequence. That is something that I feel like really should be included. It does add to a lot of the it weirdly adds to the physicality stakes in a lot of the sequences.
Definitely, I'm looking forward to the Owen and Abby sex scene on the boat. That's
Just want to get us demonetized,
yeah,
don't you, Andrew?
I do, but no. In actual seriousness, I mean, specific sequence. I don't know, like the scenes that had me. I don't know if like I need to see them, but the scenes that had me on edge. I'm afraid of heights, like Abby. So when she was like trying to climb that building with
Yeah.
Lev, like that freaked me out. So just having that, using my imagination, that when they're trying to get into towards the hospital, like her up on a crane, like obviously I think a True Lies up on that crane and stuff like that. But just seeing Abby up there, I don't know if they're actually going to do that sequence, but that would terrify me right there. But
Well, I hope they do that because they did skip out on some cool building sequences in the first game.
you sound like Paul right now.
Yeah. No, they did. So
Yeah.
because of that, though,
Yeah, yeah,
they because that's something you said that I'm like, I could totally see them skip it out or do that. Yeah. Like, no, there's a way to condense this and short.
I mean, but they got to play a part in that. I mean, that's a big part of Abby's development. She is afraid of heights. Like that's a big part of her character.
I could see them totally just going, screw it. We don't need that in the show.
Yeah.
I could see them doing that.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Yeah.
I love the trope though of like big buff person who's afraid of heights. It is a trope I've seen. Amanda Doherty.
Thank you, Amanda.
Neil Druckmann can work on both the show. He did it for the first. Neil Druckmann was working on King Kong. Neil Druckmann um, was working on the second game while
While working on the
developing
show.
the show, the first season of the show.
I mean, yeah,
It-
if he can multitask and do part 3 and seasons
Yeah.
2 and 3, I mean, go.
I
I
mean,
mean, he's got a partner in Craig, so I mean,
He's a conductor. He's not doing everything else.
Yeah.
Amanda Doherty. I'm a non-gamer player, and the morality conflict behind the finale and looking back with hints throughout is fascinating. Love your discussions. Oh, thank you so much,
thank
Amanda.
you,
That means
Amanda.
a lot.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, I think that it's weird how the second game kind of vastly overwashed any type of moral dilemma or conflict because that became such a debate of the first hour of that game that I forget like, oh yeah, that was a controversial ending in the first game, wasn't it? Yeah, like I wasn't around for the controversy because I came around to The Last of Us pretty late. I wasn't aware of that. Like I remember being very shook when playing the game because if I'm not mistaken, in the game when it's like just tell me if it's truth, and he says yeah it's true, and she goes okay. There's like a music in the background, right? It has like crescendo build, and then when it goes away, and she goes okay, and
Yes.
then the credits
It was
start.
very similar to how it played out in the.
Except in the show, they don't have a music. It's just the atmosphere of the wind and stuff
Yeah.
when they're having the dialogue. And I remember being really shook by that. Of like, oh, he totally lied to her in that moment. Like that really hit. So to me, what I thought was really fascinating is the fact that they really I think what the show captured very well was the horror behind the fact that he is lying and how he is choosing to live in this sort of quasi fantasy about this whole thing. You know, like that to me is like you've become such a good liar about it that you seem a little like Pedro Pascal, you seem a little bit crazy now. Whereas in the game, I never felt that. You know, like no, he's lying, but I don't feel like, oh, you've kind of cracked a little bit, have you? You know?
Yeah. No, I mean, it's an interesting dilemma because obviously you look at the perspective of. I mean, there's two ways of looking about it. There's the perspective of Joel, of course, where the last 20 years of his life have been awful. He's had nothing to live for. His humanity has been completely shed, and Ellie has given him something to live for. And he's just not losing another daughter. He was completely powerless when it came to what happened to Sarah. And now that he's in control right now, he's not about to lose another daughter. Whereas, hey, but on the flip side, if she wanted her life to have meaning and have purpose, and she didn't want. She's also got survivor's guilt, and she doesn't want all her friends and everyone, like from Riley to Sam and Henry to Tess, all these people that protect, and her mother, all these people that protected her, like in order, like there was a greater good cause to protecting her, and she didn't want it to all be for nothing, and she wanted to like the fact that, hey, I can save the world, if that costs me my life, like so be it. But like Joel was just not having that, and that's what creates this moral dilemma. Like I know, even though I saved her, I know if I tell her the truth of what really happened, I lose her.
Yeah.
So it creates like that's why I love this so much. It just creates such a moral dilemma. Like, what do you do in that situation? Like, you want to keep your baby girl, but and also, I mean, again, like, hey, I'm also protecting her from the truth, but I'm also being selfish in the way that I can't lose her. I mean, because that's a very big part of what happens in part 2. Like, it's just eating. You can tell how much it's eating him away of withholding that information. And Ellie can just she can completely. She knows it's her
Yeah.
dad at this point. They've spent so much time together. She knows when he's not being completely honest, and she just knows that this is eating him up. What he has done, and it creates such interesting storytelling and such a moral dilemma. So that's where I just think I'm just like that's one of my favorite sequences, not only in the game, but in any video game in any medium. The scene where the flashback sequence in part 2,
Yeah.
where Ellie forgives him and they have the whole talk about like I was supposed to my life was supposed to have me like I was legit. I think I texted her like, dude, I'm crying right now.
Yeah.
That was like one of the best freaking moments I've ever experienced playing a video, or not, I guess not playing, watching a cutscene in a video game, just on any medium of media. Like, that was so freaking good. But I agree, though, the moral dilemmas and conflicts that come about in parts 1 and part 2, it's just they're so fascinating.
I love here when Boom City says Ellie wound up all alone. Her greatest fear, she told Sam.
That's right. She did say, "I'm worried I'm gonna."
And that's where she ends up at the second
Yeah,
game.
revenge is a fickle thing. You know,
Yeah, but it could be cool too.
it can be. It can be.
guys
No
ever
doubt.
caught
Look at John Wick,
I
right?
mean, yeah, I mean,
He's
like,
not alone. He's got his
wow,
dog
it's a-
still.
I mean, I can't wait to see John and Tara's reaction to the finale as well.
I can't wait. Also, I'm watching every video with them.
A crooked, kind of torn in the finale.
Thank you, Crooked. By the way,
Thank you. Thanks for reminding me to thank Crooked. I look like a total asshole by not thank you. In the game, I felt his love and responsibility for Ellie more. In the show, it kind of just felt like Joel being a lunatic, which isn't bad. I don't know. Ought to be, I guess. That's kind of funny. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I mean by I felt like he cracked. I don't feel like a hospital scene doesn't register to me as he's being a lunatic. If anything, I kind of felt a bit of it's more the fact of when he's lying and shit, where he feels like he's kind of cracked and went a little bit crazy. Where in the actual shootout scene, to me, it felt less of a conflict because of the fact that we didn't really see much infected. That it seemed easier to side with Joel in that moment
yeah,
than it did in
the video game.
than in the video game where you're like, yeah, but dude, we've been like having to really survive through like the craziest amount of infected this entire time. Yeah, yeah.
You nailed it on the head. I mean, when you're dealing with as much infected as you are in the game, it's like again, even though I'm from a parent's perspective, I totally understand where Joel's coming from and just being so invested in these characters. Like, we don't even know if Dr. Jerry Anderson is going to get this. Like, he's just, I mean, obviously he's a very smart man. He knows the cordyceps well. He's a genius when it comes to that. We don't even know, like, if what he's doing is going to work. We don't know if the vaccine's going to work. We don't know if he's going to be able, I mean, these are all just guesstimates at this point. I mean, well-educated guesstimates, but we don't know. But again, it makes the decision that much tougher in the video game because the world is beyond infected. Whereas here, yes, we know there's infected, but because we haven't seen it happen as much, it just makes it a lot of it. It's a much easier decision for. It's like, I don't know, go save her. Like, this world isn't that run over. Like with there's infected, but it's not that bad.
Yeah.
No, that's a good
It's
point.
true. It's very true. One sec. So I make fun of Koi about. Let's see here. Oh my God. Oh damn! I'm on the right spot here. Okay, yeah, I got an agreement there. Marenta59, thank you so much, Marenta59. The show left Ellie's whole world view out of her last speech. They didn't include "I'm still waiting for my turn." Biggest disappointment for me. Andrew, what are your thoughts on that?
So they left Ellie's whole worldview out of her last speech. They didn't include the "I'm still waiting for my
I thought
turn."
they did. Didn't she say that? I could have sworn
thought
she.
she-
Has my memory serving me incorrectly?
I thought she did.
I thought she said, "I'm
Well,
still waiting for my turn."
Whatever she said, I was completely fine with. Yes, I mean if they did forget that line, which I guess I'm forgetting the scene already. But I mean I definitely like that line. It would have been nice to have that inclusion. Like I said, there's liberties, certain things that they do, put in and out of the show, but I don't know. Like if they would have had that line in, great. It's not. It didn't bother me because I can't even remember even right now at this point. But I agree with you. It's definitely an important line, but I don't know. Didn't bother me if they didn't include it, but it would have been nice if they did.
I felt like I feel like that the point still, for me at least, I feel like it still came through.
Yeah.
Of they already have the establishment of because didn't they give a tad bit of add on to her scene after the giraffe scene? They gave it like a couple of extra lines. Yeah, like I wanted my life to have meaning or something like that. Like pull
Yes.
like I think that's a line in the second game or something. No, is it in the first game? I forget. It kind of blends to me for after a while.
The life
But-
having meaning is in the second game.
Yeah, I don't remember if that's said in the first game. Regardless, the whole point is kind of driven home by the fact that they have that scene in the giraffe after the giraffe scene where Joel's trying to say like, we can just fuck off and go back to Tommy, and then they have the ending scene. So I feel like that worldview is I feel like to me it's communicated at least, but I will not try to tell you to feel otherwise here. Let's see here. I felt like a mentally ill man trying to convince this girl she's his new daughter. I don't know. I kind of like a bit of the craziness behind that,
Yeah, I
because that
mean,
is what's that is what
but
is happening.
yeah, I was gonna
Yeah,
say, like, look at the world
that's
he
what's going on.
look at the world he lives in. The last 20 years, this man has been
Yeah.
traumatized. Like he's not had his daughter the last 20 years. I mean, he hasn't had a reason to live. So I mean, it's understandable why, as you would say, he's mentally ill to the point where he's going to do anything he can, and he went into Terminator mode in that hospital scene to protect his daughter. I guess, as you said, convince her he's his daughter,
Yeah.
even though she was already convinced this was her father just from the actions throughout the entire season. But that's an interesting and fun way of looking at it. I'm gonna next time I watch, I'm gonna look at it that way.
Dart Carr, thank you so much
Thank
here.
you, Dart. Carf.
Says, hey guys, love all your breakdowns. Keep up the great work. Thanks.
Thank you.
It's all Andrew, baby.
No, no,
All
no.
Andrew, all day, every day.
Nah, just following what you say.
Cameron Cordoni, thank you for your very first super chat. Hey y'all, during Joel's massacre in the hospital, if you pause at a certain frame, this is
This is
I've
what
heard
everyone
this.
says.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
don't know. I'm curious.
I have not checked it
That
out.
would be a true Easter egg. You can see a shadow of a female with a braid in her hair running off view. I wonder how true that is, or if it just seems that way.
I'm not saying it's not true, but so far in the over 12 hours that we've had since the episode has been released, I have not even seen one picture online just with
Yeah,
that
yeah.
picture. So again, I'm not saying it's not true, but if it is, I'm curious why there's not even a picture out yet of that.
Yeah, I mean, like, what is this certain frame? What, like, what do you do? I don't want to go frame by frame for that whole sequence, but you've played the second game more recently than I have.
I have.
Replayed. I mean,
I have.
um, Abby, did she go to the hospital after the massacre happened, or was she there when the massacre happened?
You're talking about the massacre with the Seraphites? Or
No, the hospital one.
oh, the hospital. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Did she go to the hospital after the massacre?
Or was she there when it was happening?
She was there when it was happening. She was just somewhere where Joel didn't go. So
That's
like,
right, because she hears
because
she sees Marlene
the Marlene and
yeah,
Jerry
that's right.
conversation,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then
that's true, yeah.
she tells Jerry, like, if it were me, I'd want you to do it. If it meant saving the world and producing a
So
vaccine.
I do wonder if the opening scene of the second game will be like a young Abby, and seeing that from Joel's perspective.
I wouldn't be shocked. That would be an interesting way to open it up for sure.
I love that as an opening.
Starting with a young Abby. Yeah.
Because I think because it's a much taller order, like as opposed to you're going to be forced to play as this girl, whereas okay, I don't want to tune in anymore if Pedro Pascal's dead and now we got to follow this girl
Yeah.
who killed Pedro Pascal. I think they're going to have to try to get you to sympathize for Abby
Yes.
much earlier,
Yeah.
and clue you in to to clue you in as to why Abby kills Joel much earlier than revealing it much later.
And I totally agree with you, but also too, that's going to build up a little more time. Not only getting a little more like getting that sympathy and empathy that you feel for Abby, getting you invested in the character, but it's going to build up more time and allow Pedro Pascal's character of Joel to be alive a little bit longer before we get to those flashback sequences with him and Ellie. So I think that's the wise move because again, everyone. I haven't really seen any negative comments towards
Sure.
Pedro Pascal's performance and how much they love him as Joel. So if you go immediately into how the game does it and then you do that and then try to get people on board with Abby, I think that's just going to be a much tougher sell. So I think you're onto something when it comes to let's start off with a young Abby. Let's get people on board with empathizing and sympathizing with her and maybe some semblance of investing in the character. So when it does happen, we at the minimum, whether you like the character or not, you at least have an understanding and why the motivation is there. Because again, we got a major foreshadowing for that, which you called out right as it was happening. I was thinking it too in episode 8, where Alec, I believe, was the character that Joel was just self-defending himself. I mean, he didn't even, he wasn't massacring people where he did like with Dr. Jerry Anderson. Like he was just defending himself from after they were leaving the University of Eastern Colorado. And with the where he killed the guy that stabbed him with the bat. So, but this was someone's daughter or someone's father rather, and his daughter like he wanted him dead, and I was like, oh, such major foreshadowing for in terms of the revenge stuff. So, I mean, again, just getting people on board. I agree with you. Just with a young Abby, I think that's the smart way to do it.
Yeah, 1,000%, man. I mean, yeah, like you kind of have to. That's what I think. Like the major change will be in terms of structure is getting you to understand why she kills him first,
Absolutely.
as opposed to waiting. Let's see here.
Yeah, because they waited over half the game to tell us that. So I mean, that's a tougher sell.
Let's see here. Shut up about what happens in season 2.
This is a spoiler talk, dude.
The whole point of this talk is to allow us to. Everything we were not allowed to say, we have withheld from saying we are saying
dude,
today.
We appreciate you being here, but the whole video and point of this is to talk season 2 prediction. Like that's the title in the video.
Yeah, I feel like I was pretty honest about it. What was the point of showing the Fungi Network once? That's what I mean. Like that's why I think
it was a great idea too.
That's why I think there are even non-gamer fans.
Yeah,
people who are also like, I really kind of expected a little more effect because they made such a big deal out of it.
Yeah.
And then especially having the network that doesn't really come into like it happens in episode 5, 2 and 5.
2 and 5, yeah.
Yeah, 2 and 5 is when it happens, but yeah, it doesn't really factor into some type of crescendo with it, you know?
Yeah, no, I mean, I thought because they got rid of the spores and masks, which I totally get. I understand, even though I was a little saddened, but I get it. This was a great addition. I was like, and I remember like we were praising it heavily after episode 2. We're like, wow, oh my God, like it really feels like there's nowhere to go. Like, well, the whole thing was like we were like, okay, the only way infected usually come is in the game at least is when you make so much noise, and that's how they're alerted to your presence.
Yeah.
So having this whole network, it's like there's really no safe zone. So I hope they go more to that in the second season, so we just get that level of fear and like, hey, you're never safe anywhere in the world.
You're never safe. Keep Dina as Ellie's girlfriend, but make the person who goes with her Jesse.
Keep Dina as Ellie's girlfriend, but make the person who goes. No, I mean, Jesse technically goes with them, even though he gets there later. But you can't you're not going to get rid of that. Dina is a very essential character, and their relationship is a major driving point in part 2. You can't just let's get rid of Joel in part 1, or let's get rid of. I mean, you can't. I get what you're saying, but you can't do that. You have to have Dina come on the journey. I mean, also too, and I get you're saying have a replacement, but it's got to be Dina.
Samuel Lalnanzira, thank you so much.
Thank you, Samuel.
Just sending this because I'm incredibly sad after watching the finale. Maybe this will make me feel better. I hope they don't show the Seraphites too much. Their mystery and menace is what makes them interesting.
Oh, they're humanizing them. They humanize everyone in season 1.
1,000% they're being humanized.
They humanize everyone.
Being humanized. I think we're gonna. That's something I wouldn't mind seeing an expansion on. Honestly, like. As long as they keep it locked into the perspective of very minimum Lev, if you're seeing the Seraphites through Lev's perspective, instead of like let's see the leader of the Seraphites and really get to know them.
Oh, for sure they're going to do that.
But if you keep it into how Lev views it and locked into her perspective, then boom. Oh wait, no, his Lev, yeah, I'm forgetting. I forgot. Yeah, you keep it locked into his, then boom. That would be the best way to still keep that menace alive.
And to add really quick to your point, I think we're going to, because we saw in some notes when Dina and Ellie were scavenging about in day 1 that about Jacob and how he took over, that territory in Seattle with the WLF. I wouldn't be shocked if they spend an episode, like, again, getting their perspective, humanizing the WLF, and then showing how Isaac took control of that entire area and how he took control of the WLF in general. I wouldn't be surprised if we get an episode of that.
Yeah. Or not. Who knows?
Or not.
Didn't they get Jeffrey Wright to play
in the game?
Yeah.
Did they?
I think it was Jeffrey Wright because that would be. Wait a minute.
If it was, I have no idea. But if not, they should get him either way.
Last of Us 2. He does play Isaac.
Oh, okay. I never.
How
knew
cool
that.
would it be if they got Jeffrey?
Well,
that would be perfect. He already looks like Jeffrey Wright, so if they got Jeffrey Wright to reprise his role for The Last of Us 2.
Just like Merle Dandridge.
And he's already part of the HBO world because he was on Westworld.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. I didn't even think about that until right now. That would be amazing.
I agree with you. Keep Jeffrey Wright as Isaac, please. Good.
For guys who forget, Isaac is the leader of the WLF, which is the group that Abby belongs to.
Isn't that what we said.
I just want to just a
Oh,
refresher. Jesus
Oh
Christ!
no, I thought you were reading a comment saying that to us. I'm sorry.
No. Jesus, Andrew.
I'm sorry. Please forgive me.
Tommy's. Oh, that's true. This is actually a great point. Tommy's child in the show is what's going to pull. That's something we're going to have to deal with in the show. Is what's going to pull Tommy out of the darkness from losing Joel. Is in part 2. Tommy is an absolute husk shell of a man after the events of the game. Luis Ramirez says that's a great point.
Yeah,
is that Tommy doesn't have a kid in the game, so
yeah.
now that he has a kid.
Well, it makes his decision to go on a revenge tour a lot tougher because you have a kid at home. I mean, again,
Yeah.
we understand where he's coming from. His brother was just brutally murdered, so you get the motivation there. But it's a tougher, again, moral dilemma because he's got a kid. He's got a lot more to lose than just Maria. So I think that was actually a nice addition that they did to the show.
Shamir Kelly, thank you for the super chat.
Thank you.
Let me make sure I didn't skip anyone. Hold on a second. I'm just making sure. No. Okay. This is my first time super chatting since part 2 game is going to be over 2 seasons. Do you think they can push Joel's death late in season 2 or push into season 3 to have more time showing Abby's side? You see, I thought about this, and I think you got to get to what is the plot about. Like, and at the end of the day, the plot of The Last of Us 2. I mean, there's 2 main plots. The plot of the Abby one's a little bit more. I don't know if the right word's ethereal, but it's not as like directly focused. It's more of a, like exploratory that becomes a narrative eventually, as a strong through line eventually about WLF and Seraphites. Whereas Ellie's story it's straight up. It's just a revenge story, and so you kind of have to get to that story because otherwise you're just doing a bunch of explore. I think they would push Joel's death to maybe like episode 3 or 4.
I could see that,
but like what would the narrative storyline be other than just character exploring? Like what is the plot I'm talking about? Like what is the plot of this?
Yeah.
Character development's one thing, but you need a plot surrounding it. So you could do a bunch of character development and really postpone that, but I think they would at least reserve it to like episode 3 or 4.
I mean, yeah, it's going to be at least 3 or 4, 5 at the absolute latest because again, that's what drives the plot. You know, that's when the plot really starts in the video game is when Joel dies and now Ellie goes on this revenge tour. So if you leave that to the end of the season, I mean,
yeah,
it's now season 3 is going to be condensed even more, and you won't even be able to finish season 3 in the amount of time it's going to take. So I'd be really shocked if it goes past 5, even at the latest.
Elena, I've never played the game, but I wish they should have filmed what happened after or the conversation after episode 8 and David and her Ellie recounting it to Joel. Thoughts?
I mean, they could have. I think because of Bella Ramsey's such a good actress, I think like it was pretty much conveyed in how she felt and what she was going through. Like, I mean, look how much they changed. Like just from the trauma she was dealing with, look how much Joel and her changed. Joel was usually the outspoken one and the one who was more like reserved and not talking, and Ellie was the one always talking, trying to cheer him up and all that. And the roles had reversed rather. So I mean, I didn't really need a conversation. I mean, the whole comfort of him calling her baby girl and then knowing what she went through and then the scene we got after that kind of told me what I needed to know. So I personally didn't need a conversation. How'd you feel?
Nope, didn't need a conversation.
Cool. You're like,
we're on the same page.
Content down.
Salty Salmon, thank you. Says, Andrew, we love you.
Oh, thank you, Salty Salmon.
This must be from the Cinepal side.
Love you too, Salty Salmon. Thank you.
The title literally says spoiler talk. Greg has spoiled so much already. Yeah, no, it's a spoiler talk, and it says season 2 predictions.
Wait, so in spoiler talk, we talk spoilers.
That's on.
We talk season 2 and like part 2. Oh.
Yeah, you're on your own here. Literally, I made it clear on the thumbnail. It says season 2. All right.
Maybe in the thumbnail, is there a certain character I saw in the
thumbnail?
Try
tricking you into being here and spoiling it, and I was aware that there'd be a lot. There wouldn't be that many people on the live stream because of the fact that we were going to talk about this.
Yeah, if the video was called non-spoiler and season 1 thoughts, I'd totally
pretty much made it clear. Pretty much made it clear. So don't bitch if you're here. Pandemic Jones, PJ, my man, thanks for being here, dude.
Thank you.
Pedro Pascal is one of the biggest stars right now. I think they show what happens between P1 and P2, the parking floors, for the majority of S2. Then they end the season with offing Joel and Ellie and Dina are on their way to Seattle. Thoughts? That's actually not a bad call. That's the best way I can see it happening is if they invent a whole new like storyline to maybe develop Ellie into the skill set that she has
Yeah.
because in like the first game when she's hunting for Joel, like Joel's been bedridden for a while, so she's had to develop skills on her own. And then when you get to part two, she's really skilled and qualified and
Yeah.
works with Maria and all these things.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean they could do that, but I still feel like Joel's death is going to come in like episode 3 or 4.
I don't mind if they do it if it's done in an interesting way, but the only thing is if you do that where you kill him towards the end, you're gonna have to condense it into 3 seasons.
It's gonna have to be 3. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it would have to be 3
Yeah,
seasons at that point.
and again, if you want to do that, that's fine. I don't mind watching 3 seasons. I'm cool with that. So
Yeah.
if you do that, Neil and Craig, that's fine with me. If it's done and it's executed in a good way, go for it.
Judith Shetsky. I didn't see the scene with Joel and Ellie talking about him nearly killing himself as touching. I saw it as sick and sad that he's putting this on the struggling girl. I hope they explore its toxic. Well, I mean, they talk about like the dangerous side of love, and yeah, there is a bit of this like I forget the psychological term, displacement. It might be the word. Where yeah, you project. It is a big projection thing, and that but there is a toxicity that does occur within Joel. Like there is a toxic side to it. He lies to her, like and he didn't give her a choice. There is a toxic side to it, and I kind of like that they lead with it. It is touching at the same time. I think that's part of the cool thing is that there's a gray area to it. Is that it's not 100% negative, not 100% positive. Um, yeah, Ramoni, Bernie, I'm right there with you, homie. I'm right there with you. We need to have that scene. Let's just all hope we don't get a Joel in one the very first episode of season 2.
It's not happening in episode 1. I can guarantee you that is not happening in
I
episode 1.
wonder if they'll change it from a golf club.
I mean, they've definitely. I mean, like, look, even in episode 9, like in the video game, when the fireflies caught them, they were in the water and she couldn't breathe. He was doing CPR, and so they definitely take liberties. So I mean, I wouldn't be shocked, but yeah, we'll see what happens.
The golf club thing was just so demeaning. It's so degrading.
Well, how would you, in your opinion, like if they don't do the golf club, what would you be okay with them? Like, how would you feel like, okay, I'm okay with this now?
A bowling pin.
Okay,
Yeah,
I could see that.
I hope they're at like a
I mean, the whole-
millionaire's house and
Yeah,
there's a bowling.
I mean, the
alley.
reason that the reason the golf club thing, I'm not gonna say works for me because obviously I didn't want anything to happen to Joel. Love Joel, but Abby made it very clear in the line, like, oh no, it's not gonna be that quick or something. Like she made it very clear to Joel, like this is gonna be painful and long. So, I mean,
Yeah.
it makes sense that she just torture the man before she kills him.
Jeremiah says Stephen Yun is Jesse. People will lose their
thanks,
shit.
Thank you, Jeremiah. By the way,
Thank you, Jeremiah. Thank you, Andrew. That would be amazing if Stephen Yun did it.
may I see who Stephen Yun is? I don't.
You don't know who Stephen Yun is?
No, I just work on the internet and in movies, so I don't know who this is.
Oh my God, Andrew,
I'm trying to be honest here. I don't want to lie and be like, oh yeah, Steven, he'd be great.
You're a disappointment.
I know. I don't know anything. Yeah, I could.
He's Glenn from The Walking Dead.
I never watched The Walking
He's
Dead.
in Nope.
Nope, I never saw that.
He's in a bunch of other things. He's the voice in Invincible.
Never saw it either. But I mean, it sounds like he's a very
You
talented.
gotta
But,
consume more content.
I know, I do. But no, I mean, just from the images, I could see him as Jesse for sure. In terms of acting range and ability, I will take my buddy Greg's word here on if he thinks he could do a good job. But just on visual presentation, he could definitely be Jesse. He looks like him.
Deleted XO, thank you for the super chat. Imagine season 2 starts off with the Joel in one scene, then the intro plays. I would love that. There is a part of me that would kind of respect it. Of we're just, and then they go back, then they go back, but they're letting you know he dies like right away.
There's
no way they're gonna do
There's
it.
no chance that
There's
is
no
happening.
chance. I don't
Like,
believe for 1 second, but it would be
the
fun.
amount of people that are invested in not only the character of Joel but Pedro Pascal as Joel, there's a business side to this and there's a rewatchability side, and you are not killing your main. This isn't Alien 3. You're not killing some of your main characters off in the first frame here.
Yeah. Turning Joel into John Wick after 8 episodes of realism was pretty lame. That and the road rage bloater are my only complaints for the entire season. What an amazing show overall. Well, I think that's the thing about the action. Like I wasn't bothered by it because you see in episode 8, in episode 8, with the right amount of motivation, Joel's can turn that darkness into a kind of hyper focus. Like he is out of it. He just got hit with penicillin, but he is still recovering in episode 8. But he is jacking up dudes left and right in there just to try to get to Ellie, and nothing's going to get in his way. So I think like him going full Terminator is not actually that far. I could see how it could look that way.
Yeah.
But to me, it worked, even in the show structure, because they did a good job at establishing like he went from someone who is paralyzed and worried that he can't protect her to that when the moment calls for it, when it truly is life or death for Ellie, there's going to be a darkness that comes out of him that will cause him to hyper focus.
Well, and I saw that. I mean, the foreshadowing too for me is him turning into John Wick, if you will, and that anger, that rage that's ready to be released is when he brutalized and punched to death that Fedra guard. Like, just seeing when he goes into protective mode on people that mean something to him, and I'm like, for me, it wasn't far fetched. When I watched that scene, I'm like, yeah, I could see this guy like totally going Terminator, John Wick on a bunch of people in a hospital when it comes to protecting those he loves.
Guys, if you're still here and you haven't left a like, can you leave a like, please?
Please, we would appreciate it. And also, if you could possibly get a T-shirt. This is
Shop Zero Edition. Shannon Barry's only rumor to play. Michael, thank you for the super chat.
Thank you, Michael.
They did not reveal who the actress is for Abby is. I think what happened with Shannon Barry is that like there's been so much talk around Shannon Barry.
Yeah.
And I think like someone on the Neil Druckmann or someone like followed her, and so people thought like this must be confirmation, but it's not.
I mean, he follows me, and I'm not confirmed to be Owen, so
it's true. Troy Baker follows me.
Yeah, we're trying to out each other.
I sent him dick pics. And then he followed me twice.
I thought we were gonna keep that on the DL. You trying to get us demonetized?
Sorry, Michael. Do you think Bella needs to bulk up in seasons ahead?
I mean, did you feel like she was super? I mean, I felt like that was more Abby in part 2. I mean, she definitely should. I mean, I'm not saying she's got to
get more of an athletic build to her.
That's what
I
I'm
would
thinking.
say.
Athletic, not like bulky and buff. Like that's not how I viewed Ellie.
Well,
in part 2.
Abby's physicality is the embodiment of revenge.
Yeah.
Like when the moment comes, I'll
be
use a
ready.
golf club.
Yeah, I'm Sarah Connor jacked, but I'm using a golf club.
I built my body to swing this golf club.
Yeah.
But I think I definitely think that she does need to, I don't know. Not Bella Ramsey's not like out of shape or some shit.
But I think athletic build. I think that sounds right to me.
But like I imagine like she's much more of like she runs and probably does some push-ups or some shit. I don't know. And I agree. Like what Judith is saying here is like it's less about her muscle tone and more about seeing a physical change in her. Yeah, I agree.
Nick Cage's Abby. Yeah, make it happen.
Hey, Greg, I like that. Hold on a sec. I think I lost my spot here. Or I'm fully caught up. I think I'm fully caught up. I think I did it, Andrew.
You did it.
I'm a J. Hold on. Let me just confirm this. It's nice to do it. Like, this live stream is really more for Andrew and I to get other things off our chest that we didn't get a chance to talk about. Because
like we said, we had to be so careful with it. I mean, Greg got accused of spoiling stuff just from a T-shirt like that he was wearing.
Like this video game cover was everywhere before I even played The Last of Us 1. Yeah.
I'm like, but the non-gamer casual is not going to know that's I mean, I don't know. Just can't win them all, I guess.
Has anyone seen Abby in the hospital? I have no idea. Like, I'll be.
If someone could provide an image, I'd be happy. I would love to see it because, again, Greg and I are the same two smart gentlemen who missed the clicker at the end of episode 1 when the lightning struck up on that building. So I'm not saying it's not possible that Abby was not there, but I don't remember seeing a shadow, nor have I seen any pictures online. So if anyone wants to send us something, like, please, like, I'll take a look at it.
Ryan Platts. Thank you, Ryan Platts.
Thank you, Ryan.
The golf club scene is important because Ellie needs to watch Joel get beaten to death and is unable to help him like he has helped her. Yeah, no, it is. There is absolutely, it's important. Shouldn't be a quick death.
Yeah. Oh, of course not. I mean, but you mentioned like Abby's physicality, and that this is everything she's trained for. So whether it's a golf club or her just punching and punching and punching and punching, and then like I don't know, doing something. Either way, I'm gonna be okay. Either one, like, because using her physicality against Joel, like that wouldn't bother me as much. But I get it. The Joel one is very iconic. I understand, or divisive depending on who you talk to.
It's going to be a major gamble because right now, what I think's happening with like the Joel death is I get why it's such, obviously it's such a big topic. He's the main character in the first. It's a bold ass move that they did and a controversial one in like gaming history. It's one of the most controversial ones they've ever done. But for a show, it's risky as fuck. Like, I wonder what HBO is gonna react. Like, how is HBO gonna respond to this?
I mean,
because you got to think about this for a second. They're gonna give them more money to do the next season because the show is such a hit.
That's one of the biggest.
They
hits they've
see
ever had.
that Pedro Pascal is one of the biggest draws ever.
Yes,
they really let Craig Mazin and Neil Druckmann have so much creative freedom. They really let them have it. And then they got to tell HBO, we're gonna kill off Pedro we're gonna kill him off. It's
not gonna happen late.
And then HBO is gonna be like, well, we're giving you all this money, and he's kind of like our big draw actor here,
Like The Last of Us, this creates a good moral dilemma.
Yeah.
But no, I mean it's
like I can't imagine like HBO being like, I don't know, guys. I know we gotta kill off people all the time,
but that's why I love your idea when it comes to, hey, let's start off with a young Abby. Let's get invested in this character. Obviously, we got to get to the point of revenge and get the plot started at some point. I would just say like do a lot of flashback sequences. Like make it very well known that you are gonna have a lot of flashback sequences with Pedro Pascal's character of Joel. Because that's going to have a lot of weight to it in terms of rewatchability for people. At least if they can see flashbacks and okay, hey, you know what? I'm very angry that he was killed off. Like this really upsets me. But I see that they're doing a lot of flashbacks, so I know I can still watch them because I love that scene where they had the flashback with Tess, with Bill and Frank.
Yeah,
such a great addition. Like such a smart way to bring Tess back.
Let's see here. Epic Games, thanks for being here. Boom City, I agree. Adrenaline is a hell of a drug.
It is. That's what I take every time I come on this show.
Yevon Badger, hey, Micaiah is a friend of Michael Tesler. Well, thank you for being here, friend of Michael Tesler. Let me see here. Yeah, Ellie was not buff. All right, whoa. Lost the spot. Everything got refreshed. Hold on a second. Just going, catching up the chat, but extra slow mode. How will they make her look taller? I don't think she needs to get taller. Like playing her height makes it.
I would say
tiny.
In order to make her look taller, she needs to talk to Jack Travis's character, Keanu Reeves in Speed. Right? What's that line he says after Dennis Hopper's head? Yeah, but I'm taller. I don't know.
I just don't know, Andrew.
Is that a line from Batman: Mask of the Phantasm? I just don't know.
Ryan Platts.
Thank you, Ryan.
I don't know if you saw this, but they confirmed they're doing multiple seasons for part 2, and they're trying for a 2024-25 release.
I did see that.
Damn, if we got Last of Us Season 2 in 2024...
Next year, yeah.
That would feel rushed.
Oh, so you don't think it's going to be next year?
I think it would be 2025 at the earliest. I mean, this shit is hard to put together. When they were sending out screeners for this, the VFX were nowhere near done for most of the episodes. And you don't want to rush that. I think we got to really slow down and not rush that shit, honestly.
I mean,
and knowing what's in this season, I'm like, no, please don't rush this. Please take your time.
Yeah.
I really want them to take their time.
Yeah.
I'd rather wait a couple of years. I'd rather wait 2 years. And it's an interesting day and age we live in with television, isn't it? Where we can wait that long for something. Whereas there was a time where it has to be next year. People will forget.
Next season, yeah.
And but I think for Last of Us Season 2, as jazzed as I would be for it to come out next year, I'd also be like, that was fast. I'm kind of worried about this. So yeah, I really hope they don't. I hope they don't do that.
Well, you definitely run into that worry if you come out next year with it and the quality is not to the level of season 1 or the video game, then you
True.
come up with saying like, why didn't you guys just wait a little bit longer? But I can definitely also on the flip side see HBO Max like, we've got a hit, we've got such a hit, have it ready as soon as possible to Craig and Neil. So
Yeah, I just don't think they should do it. Chad Michael Simon, thank you for the super chat. Your first one ever.
thank you, Chad.
In game, Abby's identity was kept a mystery till her half. Yes, you're right. I could see value in letting a television audience know who she is from the beginning.
Yeah.
That's the biggest change up, I think. I think they have to make that change because
Absolutely.
it would be awesome if they did that. It would be awesome. You know, I remember when I was younger, I saw this Godfather thing that they did. It was really cool because if you guys haven't seen The Godfather,
Spoiler alert
spoiler alert,
on a film from 1972.
no, I mean, it's not much of it. I'm not going to go into any details. So they have The Godfather Part 1, and then in Godfather Part 2, they cut back and forth between young Vito Corleone. Have you seen Godfather?
Of course.
They have young Vito. I don't know. You didn't know who Stephen Yun is.
Oh. I like the comparison Stephen Yeun and Godfather. Yeah. Continue. I'm
So
sorry.
they have young Vito Corleone
Mhm.
and Corleone, and then they have the actual sequel continuing from Godfather 1.
Yep.
And there was this recut that they did where they put everything in timeline order, and then they aired it on television. And it was pretty cool to watch.
Mm.
And so with that kind of mentality, I'm thinking that's why structurally, they, as cool as it would be to do the game structure, I feel like they're just going to cut back and forth between Abby and Ellie.
Absolutely.
And I feel like, you don't want to lose viewer. It's so different. It's like Neil Druckmann himself has said it, that it's kind of a cheat code to get you invested in a character because you're playing as them.
Yeah.
So you get to be them. It's easier to get them into your perspective and their point of view for the emotional storytelling aspects, where you're gonna have to do a lot more work for fucking Abby on a show because you're just an observer.
Well, if you also start off, the show with a young Abby, getting us invested, getting us to sympathize with this character,
Seeing Joel as the villain through her eyes.
Yeah, it wouldn't make sense to. All right, now we're just going to focus only on Ellie for only season 2, and then we're going to come back to Abby's perspective from season. I don't know. I don't feel like that would work. So I could totally see them just cutting back and forth. A good episode focus on one character, maybe the other one, or just cut back and forth in episode to the two characters. Like, hey, we're on Seattle day 1. We're going to focus a good chunk on this character, come back to this character kind of thing, because you already know who this character is. We're not, delving into the possible mystery of a revenge hunt, and you don't know, like, we're not going to come back to this character. So, yeah, they're definitely going to have to change it up for sure from the story structure that we got from part 2. No doubt.
No doubt. Hey guys, thank you so much for being here again. If you're still here, please leave a like if you haven't done so already. The Rock is Abby. I can see it. I will beat you with a golf club.
Hey, Joel, do you smell what the golf club is cooking?
No,
you didn't like that, Greg?
Nope. It was mediocre. At
Guys,
best.
you have no
It was
idea.
meteor.
Guys, you have no idea how hard it is to make Greg laugh. Seriously.
It's really hard.
I try, even when I pay him $100 to say, hey, you're going to laugh at my joke, he still doesn't.
Silly duck. I love Florence, but that's a horrible choice. I know, but
I
want Abby to be like,
if they do
like
cast
Hollywood hot.
if they do cast Florence Pugh, I ask one thing. I want her to do her Black Widow impersonation or accent when she plays.
Mr. Super Chat, KG Gould, what are you talking about?
Oh,
we did Mr. Super
all
Chat.
right, we are sorry, KG.
You're right. I'm gonna go.
KJ,
I'm gonna go
excuse me,
find it. I'm
KJ.
gonna find it.
KJ, I'm sorry, KJ.
Boom! You're right. Thank you, KJ, for informing me.
And thank you for the
Thank you, KJ.
contribution. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Spores from the game could have been. It's your first one. Thank you. Spores from the game could have been explained as only releasing in dark, damp environments. With the gas mask, it gave us a great claustrophobic feel. What was? Can you refresh? What was the reasoning behind it? Is that they felt that if they did spores, that it would just be everywhere.
Well,
that it's silly.
yeah,
and,
that's
like-
going to be everywhere, and also too, we just don't want to have a large focus on not being able to see what the actors are doing. It's the same thing you happen with in superhero movies when you have actors, covering their face with masks. You want to be able to see what the actors are conveying in their facial expressions, and they didn't want to be locked in a corner where like there's going to be a lot of different places because spores can spread everywhere. So we don't want these actors being consumed to these masks and not being able to see how they're emoting or their facial expressions. So I mean, look, it's an iconic thing from the game. I would have loved to have seen it for sure in here, but I understand the reasoning behind not doing it. And again, if they would have done the actual, the network, the Cordyceps network, if they would have leaned more on that, like because after episode 2, like Craig and I were completely praising, like, what a great idea! Like you are
Yeah.
really there's nowhere to go. You're always trapped, like with infected possibly coming after you. So I'm hoping that they in season 2, like again, if they don't go the sports route, which is fine, let's lean a little more on the network route of the cordyceps. And I just think that goes a long way. Like when you have additions that get rid of things that are iconic from the game, if they're interesting additions, like but stick to that.
I agree with you, Andrew.
Well, I agree.
I wish they could find some way to bring, and also it's also a big part of it's also a big part of
Joel like seeing that Ellie is actually immune as well, but they kind of
no,
made it.
the bloaters.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Where they throw the acid things
Yeah.
at. Yeah. Well, also the Shamblers too.
Kind of funny he's doing a live spoiler cast with Neil Druckmann right now. That's way cooler than what we got going on.
Way cooler.
But don't go there, guys. Don't do that. Ramoni. That's how you say it. Am I reading it? Armoni? Armani. Armani? Armani?
I think that sounds right.
Armani. Okay. All the ladies on the chat want to touch Andrew's mustache.
Oh, touch away. Enjoy.
I need to find a photo. Hold on. I'm going to go on Twitter really quick and just see if there's this photo of Abby. Someone has to have. If this is really here. It says Abby's trending in California right now.
Really?
I mean, it's obviously about her. Person with pigtails? Is that a person with pigtails? Really? This is what people think. Looks like a person just.
It's hard to tell on that picture.
Really?
Not saying that can't be
If
her,
it is,
but
that's
that's
a photo. Okay, here's another shot.
Oh, I'm not saying it's not her, but I'm not. I don't know. Maybe. I'd say I could see it being her, but on the flip side, it could just be a there's a lot of different we know like the whole group that comes after.
But
Joel.
Abby's like a kid here.
Yeah,
that
looks like an adult.
What people are doing with Abby, I mean, unless they really change it, like this looks like Abby who she is in the game, and that Abby from the game wouldn't run away. You know what I mean? That Abby from the game would be like, I'm gonna kill this guy. Kid Abby would not do it because she's a skinny, scrawny, and this looks like adult Abby. So I don't feel like this is Abby.
Well, we also know, again, this is just from the video game. We know in one of the flashback sequences in part 2 to showing Abby in the hospital that she did have a gun in her holster. So
yeah,
knowing that, again, possibly like her life is in danger and her father's life is in danger, seeing her run away, I don't know. That's again, she's not built up and trained to where she's mentally and physically where she's going to be at in part 2. But having a gun like to her side and seeing her run when her life is on the line and her father's line is on, I don't know. And might just be there for an Easter. I don't know.
Okay, the media nights. Apparently, we skipped yours too. Hold on, I want to make sure. There we go. Boom. Thank you for letting us know. Sorry, sometimes it just goes a little weird here. Thank you, Media Nights. Do you guys think they're going to stick to the game structure? One season for Ellie, then cliffhanger in the theater, and then have the next season be for Abby's perspective? We loved your reaction, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, we've touched on this, but no, I mean, I that's too much of a tall order. Like I said, I really feel like they're going to be doing the cutting back and forth. Like the structure is such a meaningful, like it's such a shocking part of like when you're first playing that game. I remember, because I didn't know that you're going to be doing that. I wasn't prepared for when you do encounter Abby, and then we cut to back, and I'm like, what the shit? We got to fucking play as her now? That was that was a bunch of bullshit to me the first time we did it. And it just felt like it took the momentum out of me, like took the wind out of me, and like, we should come on. And I don't know if especially for a season 3, if that would be something audiences would come back for.
I just
It's so different. It's a completely different association
yeah, I
from
just
gaming to
on a
watching.
video game that can work. I just don't think in a TV show, especially with non-gamers, and it's not that they can accept it. I just think Greg's presentation of showing a young Abby and getting her perspective and her point of view on how she feels towards what Joel did to her father, getting people at the minimum to understand her motivation will just go a much longer way than cutting back and then seeing her POV this long after what she has done to Joel. So I don't know. I just don't see that story structure from the game. I just don't see it working if they go that route personally, but that doesn't mean they can. I mean, these guys have completely, Neil and Craig have proven that they can make anything work at this point
Yeah.
in terms of, but I just think Greg's presentation makes a whole lot of more sense in my mind for story structure.
ShopZeroEdition.com. Thank you, JP, for showing your support and hope down the chat here,
Thank
buddy.
you, JP. Let us know which shirt you get.
Let me see here. Trenton. What if they make one of the nurses Abby? Thoughts?
Well, I mean, that'd be funny, but on the
Well-
flip side, it wouldn't make sense that she just did nothing after her dad got shot.
Well, it's fun. I didn't know this. Laura Bailey actually played one of the nurses
Oh,
in the game.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes, I thought it was just a special cameo of like, let's put. I mean, it kind
Oh,
of.
you're talking about from the first game,
Yeah.
right? I did not actually know that. I did not know
Yeah,
that.
I didn't know that either until I think last night I learned it.
Yeah, yeah.
So, what a crazy thing! You go from playing a nurse to
To
Abby,
And also, you know who else she voiced, right? In one of your favorite video games, Spider-Man 2018. She's at Mary Jane Watson.
Oh, is she really? That's good.
But no,
that's good to know.
But I guess this is technically the second actor or actress in The Last of Us to reprise their role.
Yeah.
Like after Merle Dandridge, the nurse is back as the nurse.
It's true. That's true. Let's say here. Trying to just get to my. Okay, trying to get to where I last left off. Come on. Okay. Yeah, we got to wrap up in like 15 to 20 minutes. So, where are you off to next? You're gonna see Jabby Kawhi.
Sounds like a plan.
Are you seeing Jabby after this?
I'm seeing Jabby. Are you seeing Jabby later?
I will never see Jabby again.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry to hear that.
If there is one negative thing about part 2, it's that it's a bit stretched out, but I think it's a good story. Yeah, no, I think so. Like I prefer part 2 over part 1, but I would also say that it's a bit like the gameplay is amazing,
Oh,
and
it's
I think
so
it tops
good.
the first one.
I
But-
agree.
But then it does get to a point where like it's a little repetitive.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh,
because
no
the
doubt.
game's so long that you're
Yeah.
like, well, you eventually run out of variety on the situation.
Yeah,
So,
no doubt.
I
mean,
understand.
No, for me, I agree with what you
Yeah.
said. The gameplay outshines the first one, but the first one still the gameplay is phenomenal.
Exactly.
But I don't know, the storyline and the way I just for me the storyline is like absolute perfection in the first game, and it's pretty damn good in part 2. Like in my mind, there was no way you were going to top part 1, and I know in your mind they did, which is great. I love that. But it does not top part 1 for me. Like also remember, part 1 is my second favorite video game of all time, so hard to top that.
Philly Verse, thank you for the super chat.
Thank
My
you.
favorite reaction channel, especially for this
Oh,
series.
thank you.
Thank you, Philly.
Thank you.
Just joining in now. Although, are you Team Joel or Fireflies? Much love. Sad it's at an end for now. I think ultimately, I'm Team Joel. Like while the second game makes you go, especially when you see Abby's dad
Mhm.
having the discussion and having the utmost confidence that if they were to pull from Ellie and like kill her and everything, that
Yeah.
they could actually produce a vaccine. As much as they do that, when I'm watching this as a kid, like when I'm watching this, I'm like, I would make the same choice as Joel.
Yeah.
I would. If I was Joel, I would be making the same choice.
Yeah.
Obviously, it is not the better long-term choice and the better for humanity choice. Like, I understand that too. But in this particular case, it is like, well, yeah, I mean, if I was this guy, I don't think I would just be like, especially with the way the Fireflies handle both in game and in the show.
They're
like,
incompetent.
they handle it. They're so cold about the whole thing that you're like, you guys are behaving like villains. So yeah, this is going to, of course, Joel's not gonna like side with you one bit, or even consider your your option because you guys are behaving like villains.
Yeah.
You know, they don't behave. They're not like Joel. You have to understand this is our one. Like they're not trying to talk like any. There's not a shred of sympathy in it, and they should have just let Ellie have the choice. Honestly.
Dang it, you stole my point.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I'm Team Ellie. Give her the choice, but I am still Team Joel.
Yeah.
I get it. Like the greater good was possibly sacrifice and getting the world back to where it used to be. But again, if I put myself in Joel's shoes, like if that was my surrogate daughter, I would do the exact same thing. Like after everything he's gone through and everything they've been through, he was just not gonna I mean, especially knowing that she didn't even have the choice as well. Like he just was not gonna lose another daughter, not when he had control and power like that, and he could control her fate. That was just not happening. He already felt the world was a broken place, even when it wasn't infected and had the cordyceps brain, infection. So again, losing a daughter and getting the world back to where it used to be was just not an option for Joel.
Yeah.
So from that perspective, I'm totally Team Joel.
1,000%. Ryan Platts. They age him up a lot.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you, Ryan. This is like your third super chat. They aged him up a lot from the game too. Seeing him even older and unable to even put up a fight against Abby would just be so sad. Oh yeah, and also like Troy Baker's Joel is like super buff, whereas Pedro Pascal's is
He's pretty buff too.
I mean he's strong, but he's got a bit of a belly, like tiny bit. He's not like Joel from the Last of Us game buff. He's Pedro Pascal's even admitted to it.
Well, also too, getting
Saw Pedro Pascal in a Wired interview admit to it. So,
well,
yeah.
oh, okay.
So
All
I'm not being insulted. I'm feel like I'm saying what he's talked about.
well, also too, getting shot in the leg with a shotgun, goes a long way with not being able to put up much of a fight as well.
That's gonna be brutal. I forgot about that part.
Yeah, and then they put a tourniquet on his leg to stop the bleeding. Oh, yeah.
I just don't think this is Abby.
I don't either, but I mean, I don't know. I think that's a Neil Druckmann, Craig Mazin question. Like they'll be the ones to verify, but I don't think it's her. But
does Joel not shoot at this person?
I mean, he's pointing the gun in picture 3 there, so
Yeah.
I don't know.
Skylar Hillman, how do you think the third game will ultimately
Oh, and
conclude?
thank you, Skylar, by the way.
Thank you, thank you, Andrew, for reminding me to think. I'm doing the thing that I give John crap about, but I understand now when you're in this position that sometimes you're just like, you got to keep this live stream on track. I'm sorry. Skylar Hillman, thank you for your contribution, buddy. I think the third game will conclude.
Ellie gets her fingers back.
Yeah, she gets her fingers back and they resurrect Joel. They use the
multiverse works.
They reanimate him back to life.
Yeah.
No, I think that I personally would like it where they do go like they find a doctor, they hear of someone, and like they bring it full circle where where Ellie probably can make the ultimate sacrifice.
Yeah,
like Ellie chooses to sacrifice herself.
I would totally be fine with that and see that happening. I mean, she's had the hero's journey at this point, and also all the trauma, and she wanted her life to have me. I'd love to see her, Lev, and Abby as well, just teaming up to get to that point as well. That would be so damn poetic. Like the man that took your surrogate father for reasons of understanding, like even though you don't want to work with her, like it's for the greater good. So that would go such a long way in her character arc.
I think that's a great call.
Neil, okay. we hope you're watching this. Set it up for game 3.
All right, Andrew, we got to play some catch up here.
Okay.
Deleted XO. Ellie just got.
Thank you, Deleted XO.
Fuck. Thank you. Ellie just got taller and tatted, not buff. What the fuck is everyone talking about? Also excited to see what they do with Tommy's kid in season 2. I want season 2 late 2025. Yes, I would like that too. I think Tommy's kid will become king of Wakanda. But yeah, no, I mean Ellie got taller, but there is more of like an athletic, like a runner's body, like type of, and a bit more of a fighter, like a bit of broader shoulders and stuff. Like there is more of a strength to her for sure. So I think that's what people mean by that. There is more of a physicality intimidation, where
Yeah.
you can see how this person who is jacking up all those people at the WLF, you can see how that person can get away with doing
And
that.
not only that, I mean, she's going to be in 2 one-on-one. I mean, at least from the game, she was in 2 one-on-one fights with Abby, and one of those fights is at the peak of perfection when it comes to physicality.
Yeah.
So, I mean, for her to even withstand any of those blows, she's got to be in some kind of physical, shape. Obviously, in Abby's second fight in Santa Barbara, she's lost all her muscle mass just from dehydration, from not being able to eat food, and being basically tortured from the rattlers. So, in terms of Ellie's physicality at that point, I mean, obviously it didn't matter as much, but definitely in one
Yeah.
of those fights, she's got to have a little bit of a physical peak. Again, you don't have to go the buff route, but yeah.
Jeremiah says, Walking Dead or Last of Us, which is better?
Well, I haven't seen Walking Dead, so I got to go with Last of Us.
I think Walking Dead was cool, and then I completely quit the show. I just made a conscious choice. I completely quit it. I don't know. I mean, it's kind of not a fair comparison, honestly. But
That's zombies. All right, how about this? What's the I Am Legend or Last of Us, or you can't compare a movie?
Last of Us.
Okay. I don't know. I'm
Will
doing
Smith?
zombies and zombies.
I
Hey,
mean,
I will say though, I Am Legend had the best IMAX opening scene to a movie that wasn't related to that movie ever.
The Dark Knight, baby.
Oh, I should have left right after that.
I put a link in the regular chat. Thank you, Pandemic Jones. I put a
Thank you.
link in the regular chat to where people think it is Abby in the finale. Might have to Command F my name to find it. No, I mean, I see the image, like it's the same image on Twitter, the same couple of images. And so thank you for sending that
Yeah,
to me.
thank you.
But yeah, I don't think this is not Abby. I don't think it's Abby.
If it is, nice Easter egg, but I personally don't either. But if it is, cool Easter
There's
egg.
no
I
way
just,
this is Abby.
it's just not in character
Yeah.
with again, I understand she's not in physical peak and mental condition because she doesn't even realize what is about to happen to her dad. But again, in the video game at least, Abby still had a gun in her holster at this point, and knowing Abby, I just don't see her running in
Daphne
this moment.
Keene is Abby. Not a bad call. I'd be okay with that. Oh yeah, the Cobra Kai girl. That would be a good one. Tori.
Yeah,
That's not a bad pick.
yeah, I could.
Cobra Kai's ending. She's gonna need another job.
Peyton Reed, is that her? Or no,
Peyton Reed, director of
no,
Ant-Man. She directed Ant-Man,
Yeah,
didn't she?
yeah. No, Peyton. What's her last name? I said Peyton. I went right to Reed. Peyton. Some starts with an L, I think. Whatever her name is. Yeah, I could see her. I mean, she's got charisma, and she's fantastic as Tori in Cobra Kai. So I could definitely see her.
Ryan Platts.
Thank you, Ryan.
100% guaranteed Tommy's kid is going to be pivotal.
I mean,
As what? He'll be like 5.
I mean, yeah, because what is it, 3 or 4 years later, the game,
Yeah.
right? The time jump. So, but yeah, as pivotal as a 3 or 4-year-old can be, for sure. I mean, it's definitely going to have some decisions that weigh on Tommy, and like that can possibly fracture the relationship
Yeah.
between Tommy and Maria. Like, hey, I get where you're coming from and wanting revenge for your brother, but you've got a son and a family and a wife here. Like, so I mean, from that perspective, definitely pivotal.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. I was hoping to see more of the Tendril Network stuff. Be cool if Season 2 had more of that. Yeah, I agree. Cameron Condori. Greg, I sent you the photo of Abby.
Thank
to your
you,
Twitter.
Cameron.
I appreciate that, Cameron. And thank you for the super chat, Cameron. And thank you for looking out, buddy. Josh Z, thank you for the super chat.
Thank you, Josh.
Do you think there is any chance Abby goes after everyone around Joel as revenge? My logic is that the true revenge would be to target everyone else and leave Joel even more broken. That would be actually an interesting way to keep Pedro around a little. Like, I think you would still have to kill off Joel. But if they do decide to set up some other people in Jackson and then those people are killed, but you're not going to feel as much of as the audience, like, you got to get that revenge. You're not really going to feel it as much. But that would be an interesting way to postpone Joel's death scene.
No, from the perspective of I want more Pedro Pascal in present time, absolutely. That's an interesting way of going about it. The only issue and problem is Abby wants direct revenge on the man directly responsible for murdering her father. So I just, knowing Abby's character from part 2, I don't see her. I just want to torture this man as much as possible, not physically, but mentally by hurting people around him. Like it was very, again, interesting idea, but it was made very clearly in part 2 in the video game that we are not like she had a chance to kill Ellie. She had a chance to kill Tommy in the scene where she kills Joel, and
Yeah.
she made it very clear we're not here to kill them. And Owen obviously was a helping hand, but we are not here to kill them. We were just here for Joel, and that's it. So, but interesting perspective to keep Pedro Pascal in the present time longer for sure. Thank you, Josh. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Josh. Hey, thank you to everyone who's contributed to our super chats. I'm gonna turn off the super chats
Thank
right
you
now.
all. Thank
But
you.
But we're gonna wrap up the ones that we currently have. I gotta get Andrew out of here. Here's that thing that Coy does, where he drags out his time here.
Oh, sorry guys.
Answers every question with so much care and consideration.
I should just say
And I'm
yes.
like,
No.
you gotta pull other live stream methods. We're just like, yeah, no, whatever, thanks, moving on.
Okay. In the future, I will.
That's
just,
how most people live stream,
I-
Andrew.
in
You
the
gotta
f-
be more like
in,
them.
So in the future, I will do what women do on dates with me. One-worded answers. My bad. Peyton List. That's
I don't feel sorry for you.
Peyton List.
I've
That's
seen
her,
the woman you go on dates with.
That's her name. Peyton List.
We were gonna get there.
Yeah. Don't worry. We'll still read your comment. But
Chad Michael Simon, thank you so much. A challenge with cutting between the two halves is Abby's story has nothing to do with Ellie until the end of her day 3. Audiences might be confused. That is true. It is kind of like, I don't know. It could be still building up to it because it is sort of like Abby just goes and is like, "What happened? They're all dead, huh?" Like by the time Abby goes to find Ellie,
I mean, yeah, it does have nothing to do, but the whole thing was, I mean, it's a journey about like, what am I actually here to fight for when it comes to fighting the Seraphites? Like everything because Abby is so hell bent on killing Seraphites. She's so believing into the philosophy that Isaac and the WLF have infused upon her, and just like her experiences with Lev and Yar, which are so damn deep and important, like give her a different perspective. Kind of like with a little bit with how Ellie felt towards like even in the show, like she was being trained by
Yeah.
Fedra and to hate fireflies and like no, now she wants to go to the fireflies. Hey, like I want to like I need you to help me produce a vaccine of my blood or my brain, whatever. Like kind of thing.
Ellie's going down the Abby path, both like literally and metaphorically. She's going down the Abby path, and while she's going down that path, Abby's going down a very different path that is causing her to not be the person who would have killed Joel, you know. And so I do think actually cutting back and forth would still work. As granted, they're two very different plot lines.
Yeah.
But I still think it would work.
And last point I want to make, what I love too when we are cutting to Abby, what even before day 3, we see that she doesn't get the satisfaction. Like seeing her in days 1 and 2, shouldn't she be so happy she got the man that killed her dad?
Yeah.
But like revenge is a fickle thing. Like it doesn't drive her to a place like I still feel empty and hollow inside, and like and I got the guy who killed my dad. Like I thought that was a very interesting perspective that they laid in the game. I was like, okay, yeah, this isn't pertinent story wise, but at least like character driven wise, like this is damn deep in my opinion.
The Panda, thank you.
Thank you.
I hope you guys are going to do a combo reaction with game crew and non-game crew for finale. And there's time between Last of Us 1 and 2. Maybe they could fill in the time with the season 2 and 3. Then Joel dies in season 4. They're not going to post. Everyone's too much wishful thinking here, people. Too many people are wishing they just wait till hold it off. Hold it off.
It's going to be so
It's like when you're in
it
a.
happens.
It's like when you have a breakup coming around the corner and you just keep postponing it when you know this relationship's going to end.
Yeah.
You got to just be willing to rip that Band-Aid off.
It's going to be damn controversial when it happens, which is why, again, I think going the route that you mentioned earlier, it's not gonna soften the blow of what happens, but at least we will have a perspective and a motivational understanding of where Abby is coming from. It's still going to be damn divisive, but at least, again, I think that is the smarter route to go on.
Yeah. No, I'm not going to do a video with John on Last of Us. He borrowed my game for years. He could have played it.
The
and
first
he
one?
didn't, yeah. Years. But no, he doesn't care about you guys as much as I do.
Yeah.
I played for you guys.
Don't forget KJ.
KJ paid enlist from Cobra Kai could play Abby. Thank you, KJ.
Thank you, KJ. Appreciate your
Thank
comment.
you. And you stole that from me earlier.
I'm sorry, KJ. My apologies. That was you. I give you credit.
Renegade. I really don't like the idea. Thank you, Renegade. I really don't like the idea of empathizing with Abby before she kills Joel. The whole point is to let go of your anger, see things from a different perspective after you already hate her. Again, that's something that I think you can, that totally makes sense when you're being the one in control. And you, like, the thing with the Last of Us games is whoever you are playing as, you do not break that perspective. You just plain and simple do not. Take like the show of season one, you break the perspective all the time from Joel and Ellie. Like you cut around to different characters and you go into their perspective. Like scenes where Joel and Ellie are not around, you are getting to see who they are. That is it's different. But when you are the one being the person, it is easier. And then going through these like experiences as that person controlling them, then you have an opportunity. And even then, for a lot of people, they were not able to achieve that different perspective, even though they got to play as Abby. A lot of people were not able to achieve that. And for a show where you got to have people tuning in weekly,
Yeah.
where they are going to be taking their time to cut around to other people's perspectives and break from just locking into Ellie or just solely locking into Abby, I feel like you're going to have to mix up the structure personally.
Absolutely.
Hold on, Andrew. Hold on. Just wait. Don't yell at me, Andrew. Abby versus Ellie fight in the theater is going to be rough. It's going to be awesome. I can't
Oh
wait
yeah,
for it.
I love that scene in the game or that fight because you are controlling Abby. I believe I know a lot of people. I've seen some YouTube stuff gameplay wise. Some people hate Abby so much that even though they're controlling Abby, I've seen two different things. One, they keep jumping off cliffs and stuff to die,
Yeah.
or they let Ellie just win that fight. Like, no, kill me, Ellie, kill me.
Yeah, no, Ellie's scary in that fight.
Yeah.
JP.
Oh yeah, no, she feels a little bit like David in
Yeah. No,
the
she's
first
terrifying.
game. Yeah.
She's terrifying. Too many shirts. Also, Andrew, you've been great.
Oh, JP, well, thank you first for your contribution. I know Greg forgot to say thank you so much, JP,
did.
and also for your comment. No, I appreciate it. JP, you're great. Thank you.
JP's amazing. Season 2 is going to be a multiple. It's got a lot of repeat questions here.
Someone just I saw in the chat. Someone said, "Where is John and Tara's reaction?" Well, like for the last 8 weeks, it comes on Tuesday mornings. It'll be here tomorrow. So, and I will be tuning in first thing right when it pops up on my YouTube feed. They have been great. Love watching them. I also find it's such an interesting perspective from people who have not, played the game or not as in. Not saying not invested in the characters, obviously they are, but not like have any expectations of it's got to be this way. I'm going to compare this and compare that. I just find like when Greg told me what he was thinking, like a month and a half, 2 months before, like we started, I was like, that's actually a fascinating idea. Not for the fact that I actually like want to do this reaction with you, but like John and Tara's reaction, like getting a non-gamer's perspective, like that's actually interesting. Like just seeing like the differences between us because Greg and I we're so invested in this world before the show even starts. So getting to see John and Tara's, I've loved every second of it. Like it's interesting, seeing the contrast between us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great idea, Greg, is basically what I said in that soliloquy.
And then you wonder how you don't get out of here on time, Andrew.
It's my fault.
With you talking about my great ideas and John and Tara's
But
amazing
don't worry,
videos.
I'll tell Jabby you wouldn't stop talking even though he's probably watching us.
Yeah, he probably is. I need a live stream like them. Elias, how excited are you to see Sarah?
Elias, thank you so much.
Elias, thank you. How excited are you to see Seraphites in season 2? I hope they're terrifying.
I mean, yeah. I'm excited to see them. I thought that it brought a different and interesting perspective, just having this religious cult and just seeing the war waged between, the WLF, the Wolves, and also the Seraphites, and like how Isaac just seeks control of this entire area. So
the only good people are the people in Jackson. So like,
it's
the
true.
only good people are the people in Jackson. But yeah, it's just so funny. Like they all suck. They're all terrible. Yeah, the Seraphites in action, it will bring a different side to it for sure. I think like the production on that and the kind of choreography, the brutality, like that could be some real heavy-handed gore with those kind of guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's disturbing. They could even go racist with it if they wanted to. They really can. The end does not justify the means. True. Andrew Croft, why'd you redact your message?
Well, thank you for
When
your
is John Terra's reaction? I'm excited. Is that why you redacted your message? Jay,
tomorrow.
hello, love this channel.
Thank you, Andrew, by the way.
Thank you, Jay. Chewbacca. I don't think Pedro signed up to be Ned Stark. Pedro's died in so many different things. He would totally be willing to die. Pedro's so funny. I'm obsessed with his interviews. He was just on Hot Ones recently. He's amazing. Every interview I've seen of the guy, he is hilarious. One of the best SNL sketch hosts I think we've ever had, honestly.
I gotta watch that.
He's so funny. He's like such a funny. Like I've only seen him in this like gravitas work, and then I see him in interviews, and I'm like, oh my god, he's like a really loose guy.
Oh yeah, no, there was this interview because he was in Buffy the Vampire Slayer with Sarah Michelle Gellar, and Sarah Michelle Gellar posted a picture of them from Buffy, and the interviewer, just really quick, the interviewer asked, do you showed him the pictures, like, oh my god, that's great, and then said, do you remember this? Like, I remember everything. Like, we'd have ice cream at midnight, she'd invite me to her trailer, and she was so nice to me, always would give me like pointers and stuff about my acting and stuff. Like, of course, I remember everything. Like, I'm like, he's so down to earth and so humble. I love it.
Well, he's also really honest about his insecurity. Like, I think that's the thing about why people love Pedro Pascal too, is because as much as he plays like these tougher, more brooding characters and stuff, and he's amazing in these roles, when you see that, oh, he's actually also a really loose, hilarious guy. Like he's quite opposite from a lot of the characters he plays.
Yes,
in a way that is exceptionally charming.
Oh, yeah,
I think that it makes you more attached to like, oh, Pedro, he's a goofy guy. Like he's goofy. That's the thing. He's really goofy.
He's a terrific actor.
Nick, thank you, Nick.
Thank
you, Nick. What would you guys think of season 2 being an original story outside of the game story? I'm just hoping for a little more Papi Pedro love from Germany. I mean, that's what everyone wants, but it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, they're not going to. Again, there's things. I mean, Neil and Craig have said, hey, if it deviates from the story and it improves it, we will do it. But I know where you're getting at. It's going to happen whether we wanted to or not. Like, Joel's dying. It's gonna happen, and they're not gonna deviate too far from a lot of the things that happen in the story. So I just don't see that happening. But if they did totally deviate and do a whole original story, if it was as impactful and really good as season 1 and even better than what happens in part 2, I mean, go for it. I mean, I'm gonna watch either way. Yeah. So, but I just don't see them. I mean, when you got the groundwork and there was too many things that they put in place and too many foreshadowing things to have me believe that they are going to go a whole original route and deviate totally different from part 2.
Well said, Andrew Gordon. Ryan Platts. Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you, Ryan.
What if Abby kills both Tommy and Joel and Ellie has to watch over his kid? Dude, that would suck. No, you can't kill Tommy.
Well, I mean, you're saying Ellie has to watch over the kid, but I mean, Maria's still around, so I guess Ellie would be kind of more like a.
I would love it if Maria's like, I can't watch over my kid. It's too much. Reminds me too much of Tommy. No, I think they're gonna expand on Tommy's screen time.
Definitely,
we're gonna see a lot more of that adventure he had. That was not that was all happening off screen. Yeah. That is really important in Last of Us 2. And I do think that will ultimately. I don't think Abby will be killing off Tommy.
I really hope.
Would really be upsetting.
Yeah,
I would be upset. I'd be like, bunch of bullshit.
I did like that sequence where you're playing as Abby and Tommy's trying to sniper rifle you. Like, that is a tough and very tense sequence. Would be cool if they kept that one in there for sure.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. They're going to expand Tommy's role and screen time in this for sure.
Ramon Brown. Who do you think will win the fight, Joel or Rick Grimes? I think live action Joel would lose to Rick Grimes, but I think video game Joel would beat Rick Grimes. Dave Lopez, thank you. Your final super chat today.
Thank you, Dave.
Do you guys think season 2 will be much longer?
Yes.
I feel like they'll get at least one more episode. I think it'll be 10 episodes. You got to do at least 20 episodes if you're going to adapt season 2. So I think season 2. I mean,
so 2 seasons of
second game.
So 2 seasons of 10 episodes.
2 seasons, 10 episodes. Yeah, I feel like they can manage that.
Oh yeah, I could see that. But here, serious tone. I know you like to be sarcastic, Greg, right?
I've been really serious for a lot of this.
Serious tone though. Where do you truly like? where do you truly see the season in your mind ending season 2, like to leave for a cliffhanger? Because obviously there's no cliffhanger to you just play the whole game when you're playing part 2. Where could you be satisfied in your mind where like this is a good place to stop it right here before we continue to season 3?
I think it's when Abby discovers, oh, if they decided to do like the ideal scenario I envision
Yes, yes. The way
it
you envision, yes.
is if they are cutting back and forth between the two storylines,
Mm-hmm.
then you can it would I wouldn't end it when Abby gets to the theater. I would end it when Abby discovers Owen is dead.
Yeah, I could see that.
You know what I
I
mean?
mean, yeah.
Because then you could expand upon a lot of like the Santa Barbara stuff, and
Yes. And
like
the
that,
Rattlers too,
because
yeah.
that becomes one giant epilogue at
Yeah.
the farm, and then Abby and Santa Barbara and all
Yes.
that. Like that's it's a really just a big epilogue, and I think you can really expand on that shit, and then you're also drastically changing locations from where your focus is because everything's in Seattle
Mhm.
in there, and then season 3 would be like the start at the farm and then Santa Barbara.
But you definitely want to see by the end of season 2, you want to see that massive battle between the WLF and the Seraphites, right? By the end of season 2.
That would be cool. Yeah. Oh yeah, when they're running through it. Yeah, that's great. That's a
Yeah.
great sequence. Yeah,
With
yeah.
Lev and Abby,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's where Abby loses all her weapons. Yeah.
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That would be cool. But knowing the show, it'll probably be like 5 minutes long.
Right. Yeah, that whole sequence that whole 2-hour sequence condensed to 5
It'll
minutes.
just be like a minute.
Yeah.
And, it'll be like 5 Seraphites that just show up. I don't know. That might even be too short then, huh? I think that's a great ending spot,
Yeah.
but I feel like you would need like 12 to 13 episodes instead of 10
Mhm.
if you were to do. Like I think you can do like it's cable, so sometimes you don't need the exact same number of episodes.
Right.
So like even Stranger Things went full experimental this time where they had like a few episodes and then their part 2 was like their part 2 had like a 2.5 hour finale episode and an hour and a half prior to that,
Mhm.
and then you waited forever for that. So you can do something like that if they wanted as well, where you do have season 2 that's like 12 to 13 episodes. Then I think that would be a great ending spot. Not put it at that way. That way your season 3 can start off with a bang, where Abby goes to the theater. Like that would be that would hook you in.
I could see that.
But it ends with like Abby knows and now she's gonna go after Ellie.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that would be cool. So that's just my opinion, though. All right, guys. Well, we are done for today. Sorry, it's 6 a.m. I'm really tired. But here we are. I enjoyed that we were able to. I'm enjoyed that we were able to. No, the super chats are done right now. How do I remove this? I'm losing my brain power here, people. Oh no, wrong button. Wrong button. Wrong. Go away. It won't go away. Oh wait. Aha! I figured it out, Andrew. Coming closer to me, Andrew. Someone says, "Oh, and Andrew is handsome and hot." I love to hear that,
Thank you. I appreciate it.
guys.
Thank you.
I'm here with Andrew today. I'm glad that we got to do this journey.
Yes.
Glad we
Thank you
got
for
to talk
having me
about
on.
everything that we weren't able to really talk about in our videos. But I want to thank everyone who joined us on this journey.
Thank you.
And oh yeah, also by the way, Bella was called Belly by
Pedro
He did
Pascal.
not call it- he did
Again,
not invent it.
I didn't,
you
but
took credit for something that was not your
to be fair,
credit.
I didn't watch any interviews with Pedro Pascal, to be fair, but I'm happy to give full credit because he's one of my favorite actors anyway. So, Pedro, you get full credit. I guess I took something I didn't hear from you, so my bad.
Jackass.
Yeah.
But
No, I'm happy to give him credit.
But thank you guys for being here, and I appreciate my bros here. Jabby's here. He's gonna die. But yeah, I appreciate everyone for the support over the past few weeks, and some people wonder how we got these out fast. It was a lot of fun editing. I won't reveal my secrets, but it was a lot of fun editing. It was a lot of fun putting the thumbnails together. It was quite a journey. So shouts out to people really quick here. Chrissy Ann, thank you. General Grievous, Seattle KO, Dave Lopez, Pandemic Jones, Rogue Persephone, Andrew Gordon, Yevon Badger, and Avby, the Nerdy Wave. And guys, keep a lookout for John and Tara's reaction.
Can't wait.
Tara's done something special for you guys. You will see what it is. And much love. And we will see you. We got other things coming up here this week that I hope you guys do enjoy. All right.
Thank you guys.
I'm
Appreciate
going to
it.
end this stream right now. Much love. Enjoy all the additional things we got to offer. And leave a like on this video.
And don't
on your way
forget,
out.
shirt.
Yeah. Not a bad call, Andrew. Get a